Cause my stuff ain't popped up, man. Bro, please don't tell my stuff shut off. Bro, I hope my stuff don't shut off, bro. Please don't shut off. Please don't shut off. Damn stuff. Close to. We close. We close to. Stop it. Move my stuff on this thing. I don't know what's going on with stuff on this thing. I ain't had this problem in a minute. Broski. Broski. Please, Lord, please don't. Someone just start spilling into life, right? Because the thing that's just popping up. Because my thing is not popping up. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, gang. Let me see how to style this thing. Let me see how to style this thing. So I'm going to YouTube subscribers. That's cool. YouTube. YouTube. We hit 100 stars. We just hit 100 stars. That'd be good. That'd be I can't even see how many people are watching right now. I can't see. I can't see, bro. It's not. It ain't pop up on my thing. Oh, this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough. Hey, 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 hey. I got nothing back yet. So let's just hope this thing do not shut off. Please do not. Please don't shut my stuff off, bro. Please do not shut off. So how you guys doing today? How you guys doing? How you guys doing today? First start this morning. How you guys doing today? I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know. Bro, did y'all hear me the first time? Did anybody hear me? Did anybody hear me? Dang, I don't know how many people are watching my stuff, dude. I don't really want to see it, but it's up. But hey, hey, I told y'all. Oh yeah, we gonna finish watching that. We gonna finish watching that tomorrow. I got school and everything, dude. Dang. It's like, oh boy. Oh yeah. Shoot. Old man Logan. I think that's what it was. Old man Logan. Old man Logan. Yeah. Yep. This is part two of Old Man Logan, bro. Old man Logan. This is part two of Old Man Logan game. So let's run it. Let's run that mug. Oh shoot. Oh shoot. Oh shoot. Hold on. Oh shoot. That's one more thing I forgot to do. That's another thing I forgot to do. Gang. Oh, hold on. Let me put that thing. Let me put my thing on there. Gang. Go. There it is. There it is. I can't even see that, bro. I can't even see that. Yeah, y'all be able to see. Y'all be able to see. This is part two of Wolverine. Really? Whoa. Oh shoot. Oh shoot. I forgot the desktop thing was off. The desktop thing was off. Oh my God, I forgot. Sorry about that, y'all. Sorry about that, y'all.
Moment and he
Jesus.
tells him, I don't know anything anymore.
Sorry about
Logan
that,
looks at him,
y'all.
telling him, they got you too, huh?
Okay, cool.
Look, all I know is that there are killer cyborgs wearing human skin. Creed closes his eyes and he says, the one that came for me was a little kid. Her face split in half and a million claws came out. Logan begins to head up to Creed's cabin and he says, you look like crap, by the way. And Creed shouts, well, yeah. Takes a while to regrow half your internal organs and 100 pounds of muscle. Once inside, they decide that they need to work together. They have to get a hold of one of those cyborgs and tap into its memory banks. Creed says that they have been fighting for over 100 years. Why the hell would they team up now? And Logan laughs, telling him, well, I may have come here and passed every security camera along the way. So just give it a die, mutants. Creed James
Crazy.
Browdstar, the man known as
That's
Warpath,
crazy,
notices
bro.
a helicopter bothering some of the nearby Mustangs. As they run off, he looks up the helicopter and he sighs and he begins to chase after. He leaps up and he flies through the air with his knives and cuts the propellers. As the helicopter comes crashing down, he notices that the pilot is a dummy. All of the Mustangs turn back and they begin to neigh at James, and then they transform into mechanical horses with claws. One stabs into it, but he tries to fight back, but the number of horses is too much, and they begin to overpower him. Back over in Washington State, Logan and Creed fight off the group of cyborgs that are after them. Logan shouts that they nearly killed them when they were separate, so they're just gonna have to fight together. One of the
Yeah.
cyborgs cuts into Logan's stomach, and Creed laughs, telling him, haha, looks like you're getting slow. And then the cyborg punches him. Creed starts to get back up and telling him,
That's
this
crazy.
is stupid, I'm getting out of here. Logan then watches as Creed runs and he says, aw crap, and he follows close behind. Once he catches up, he says, you know, they do have tracking skills, but they don't have our experience. So I'm a bit curious as to how they would follow. He grabs it, and before Logan can tell him not to, the head self-destructs. Logan shouts, we needed it alive! And Creed tells him, shut up, there's more coming. Back a ways, two of the cyborgs locate the scent, but they notice it everywhere. One says, it's a trap. And they begin to take out clothing and change back into their human forms. Over in the bushes,
Crazy.
Creed and Logan watch, and Logan mentions
Crazy.
that he caught a whiff of the new skin, and it's their scent. They stole their blood, and he kind of takes that personally. Creed looks at Logan and he tells him, I really hate you right now, but you're lucky I hate those cyborgs more. Meanwhile, back at the unclassified location, the scientists get to work on their experiments on Warpath. The next morning, Logan and Creed sit in a diner watching the cyborgs as they try to locate them. But then they see them renting a car. Creed points out, stating that they're driving, not flying, which means they have no fancy sci-fi jets. The two exit the diner and Logan begins to tell Creed what they should do when Creed starts to walk off. Logan asks what's he doing, and Creed points over to the gun store, telling him that he's gonna do some shopping. Inside, the cashier says that they have bigger guns, but there's normally a lot of paperwork that comes with that. And Creed holds out a fistful of cash, telling him, I got all the paperwork you need right here. As the two cyborgs leave, Logan and Creed wait until dark and they sneak into the car rental place. Logan says that these places have GPS in their cars, so now they just have to follow where this went. And later, over in California, Nina Thurman, the mutant Domino, rides a boat feeling the water. And she quietly asks, now? No, now? No, now! Domino then jumps into the water and swims down to a clam and tries to open it up, revealing a coin. After swimming back up with the clams, she tosses them onto the boat and the two men call out to her, and they say that they're a little lost. Domino points off into the distance, telling them that they could just follow the shore to get back to the docks, and one of the men says, "Thanks. But while we're close, a claw springs out into Domino's boat, and another cyborg shouts, 'How about you die now?' As the cyborgs begin to climb onto Domino's boat, she grabs her guns from underneath the floorboard and jumps to the other boat, firing. As the bullets begin to bounce off, the cyborgs open up their hatches and they point several guns back at her. They jump back onto their boat and she leaps onto hers, kicking open another floorboard filled with grenades. After tossing all of those grenades, Domino jumps into the water as the explosions go off. And while underwater, she watches as the cyborgs fall in and they claw their ways back up. Domino shouts, "Really? We're running out of boats here." And then another explosion goes off. Speeding up from behind, Creed laughs, holding out a smoking RPG, and Domino shouts, "Logan!" Another explosion goes off, sinking the boat that the cyborgs are on, and Logan starts to help Domino up onto theirs. As she begins to dust herself off, Creed says that she's a hot one, and then Domino pulls a gun on him, telling him, "Yeah, super hot right now." Logan tells her it's all right, we're working together. There's a bunch of cyborgs hunting mutants, so you in? And Domino says that she was working some carefree mercenary work, and they just lost her $250,000 in gold doubloons. So heck yeah, she's in. Meanwhile, at a classified location in Washington, D.C., a man looks at the reports and says, "The cyborgs can't swim?" And the doctor says, "Given the amount of adamantium, they are extremely heavy, so right now, we need something incredible. We're gonna need to merge them with the Hulk." However, not only did the scientists think that they should get a hold of the Hulk, known as Amadeus Cho right now, but so did Logan, Creed, and Domino. Amadeus explains that right now they are off the Gulf of Mexico, and there's a group of researchers using an oil rig as a research facility for Weapon X. There's been a small group of scientists who are regularly seen there, and that's who they're going to try and capture. Once the plan is set, Amadeus leads the charge towards the facility by dropping out of the Olympus Group airship down onto the oil rig. He smashes into the rig, and the others provide support fire while the rest of them can land. After destroying the top forces, Creed says, "That was a little too easy." Amadeus tells him that those cyborgs are probably an early batch. The real threat is deep inside. However, before Amadeus can get in, the rest of the cyborgs make their way out and they all begin to attack. Logan gets stabbed and Creed shouts, "What the hell is this?" And he jumps on top of Amadeus, telling him, "Look me in the eye." And when he does, Creed fires an assault rifle into his face, telling him, "Get mad already!" Amadeus rips through the horde of cyborgs, screaming, "You shot me!" And Creed laughs, telling him, "That got him going, huh?" Amadeus then pulls apart the floor for everyone to make their way inside, and as they get into the lab, they see the test tubes. Domino sees the Eureka's tube and says, "Please don't make her regret this," and shoots the glass, freeing her. Logan then gets Warpath out of his tube, and then he runs straight into a group of cyborgs, tearing them all apart. Domino helps Eureka, and she extends her nails, and Domino shouts, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, we're here to save you, and are you okay?" Eureka tells her, "No." But she knows things that'll make this better. She then sees the group of scientists, and they run back and close the reinforced door, locking her out. Creed hands Eureka his jacket and says, "I'll give you a hand." And he rips the door off. One of the scientists shouts that the lab has been compromised, and Eureka jumps, stabbing into his chest. Another scientist begs, "Please, don't kill me." And Eureka says, "I don't remember you crying when you were cutting into my flesh." The scientists tell her that she healed. "Tell me who your boss is." Meanwhile, at that classified location that we've mentioned multiple times in this story, the rig explodes. The top of them. The van begins to burst into flames, and as Logan claws his way out, he continues, "Told you not to!" And then a tank is thrown on them, stretching as a semi is then thrown, and then from the fire, Logan says, "Damn it, Wade, I told you not to double dare them." At that moment, a burning plane falls towards the ground, about to crush Logan and Wade. But how did our heroes find themselves in this mess? Well, it all started 2 days ago in a New York subway. As a group of thugs get on the train, one smacks a book out of an older woman's hand, and the leader of the group shouts that that's enough reading, Granny! The woman picks up her book, sighing, stating, "Kids today. I would pay good money to see someone slap some sense into them." And the passenger next to her asks, "Would you now?" Wade pulls down his paper and then asks, "How much money exactly?" So after punching the leader of the thugs through his newspaper, he shouts, "It's hard-hitting news!" And Wade continues beating the thugs and throwing them out of the train. Wade then, the train door is shut and Wade shouts, "Hey, wait! That grandpa just cost me money!" That's when old man Logan looks back at Wade before running up the stairway to leave. Wade runs after him, telling him, "Wait, I gotta talk to you!" And as Wade jumps down in front of Logan with his swords drawn, Logan swipes at the blades, cutting them, telling Wade, "Get lost, kid. I got better things to do." Logan hurries on ahead and Wade asks, "Better things? Kid?" Up ahead in the park, Wade jumps in front of Logan again, shouting, "I want a do-over! I lost at least $25 because of you. The least you could do is apologize." But Logan takes his claws out again, telling him, "Move." And Wade tells him, "Make me!" So Logan charges at him. Wade slices into Logan's chest, and Logan slashes, cutting down the second sword. Wade then looks at the two broken blades and says, "It's a good thing I buy these things in bulk." And he stabs the two of them into Logan's shoulders. Logan shouts, "I'm gonna rip you to pieces!" And he punches Wade in the gut, stabbing into him. Wade jumps back out shooting, saying, "You got too much red meat in your diet. Let me introduce you to some lead." Afterwards, Wade jumps back up and into a tree, which Logan then cuts down, causing Wade to fall out, and the tree then falls on him. Logan walks up to Wade, telling him, "That's always been your problem. All bark and no bite. See? I can make jokes too." Then there's a scream off in the distance. The two of them look over to see people running away from a girl who seemingly set the area on fire. Wade gets back up asking, "Who's the dork?" And Logan elbows him in the hell out of her. The two fight their way towards the girl, with Logan calling out to her asking, "Do you need a hand?" And the girl gets up running away, telling them, "Just leave me alone." Logan and Wade begin to follow, and then a hot dog stand suddenly falls in front of them, and then bicycles. Logan shouts, "You clumsy idiot." And Wade says, "Really? Clearly you're losing your sight in your old age if you think I did that." Logan then stops and tells Wade, "Shut up, I'm starting to hear something. As much as I don't want to say it, I'm gonna need you to go after the girl. Something else is coming." Wade runs off and a large helicopter descends, and a voice over the intercom shouts, "Target located. Acquire the weapon." Just then, the armed soldiers drop out of the helicopter, and Logan runs up, ripping the group to pieces. Eventually, the soldiers begin to overwhelm Logan, and as they pin him down, Logan asks, "Is that all you got?" The man starts to walk down out of the helicopter, telling the soldiers to fan out and find the others. And then he looks at Logan and he asks, "Where's the weapon?" Logan yells at him, "I got your weapons right here, pal!" To Logan, and he tells him, "I know all about you, just didn't expect you to be so old. Anyway, you may address me as Agent Hart from Genform Enterprises." And back to the topic at hand, where is the girl? Logan says, "You mean the girl that's been getting away while I've been distracting you?" Suddenly he pops his claws, lifts himself up to headbutt Hart, and then he kicks him back, telling him, "I know for a fact that the girl doesn't like talking to strange men." The soldiers begin to shock Logan, and Hart calls out that they don't have time for this. "Everyone back into the helicopter and find me the girl." Logan starts to get back up, still twitching from the shock, and he says, "That could have gone better. Maybe Wade will look out for the kid after all." Meanwhile, up ahead, Wade runs up to the girl, pushes her down, yelling, "Out of my way! Wickedy wild, wild Wilson looks out for number one!" As the girl falls into a pile of boxes, Wade quickly stops, stating, "Oh, crap!" And he lifts the girl up, telling her, "I'm sorry, I forgot I had to save you to stick it to stupid hairy face. So, Precious, what's your name?" And the girl tells him that it's Maddie. "And you really suck." Wade throws Maddie into a box and then he yells to the soldiers chasing them that "You are so interrupting our conversation here." Wade then kicks one of the soldiers headfirst into a pole, telling them, "And don't be so rude, my dude. Use your head." Wade then takes out his gun, shooting the soldiers in the face, shouting, "On God!" But after shooting a few soldiers, Wade stomps and sighs, stating, "I really miss my swords. Hall & Oates, they never let me down." But from above, more soldiers appear and they begin to fire down on Wade and Maddie, and from the helicopter, Hart tells them, "Report! You have to take back the weapon alive." Just as the soldiers begin to respond, a slight gurgling sound can be heard, and Logan holds up one of the soldiers. Logan pulls his claws out, telling Hart to just drop it. "The kid's innocent, and if I see you again, you're dead." Logan then drops the walkie-talkie, and Hart tells the other soldiers to be on high alert. Weapon X is loose. Consider him extremely dangerous. As the soldiers respond, Logan has already jumped off the roof as he was ready to kill more soldiers. Up ahead in the alleyway, Wade stops and tells Maddie that he's pretty sure that they lost him, and Maddie asks, "Who the hell are you anyway?" Wade asks, "How do you not know who I am? I'm Deadpool, the lovable merc with a mouth, poop jokes, chimichangas, etc." Maddie stares for a moment and then says, "That's a hard pass, I'm out." Wade tells her, "Listen, you're in danger," and Maddie then asks, "I don't know what else to say. You need to get lost. I know what I'm doing. Now leave me alone." And Wade yells back at her, Fine, but only if you do something first, and that's take this little miniature Deadpool figure. If you're ever in real danger, you can just use that." Maddie takes the figure and tells him, "Right. This just got really weird. But, who?" Suddenly up above, a metal spear appears and it's thrown into Logan's back as he's jumping down to the two of them. Wade says, "Hey!" And then he's hit by a flying motorcycle. Maddie sighs and says, I Man, I feel like I've been hit by a truck. Logan pulls the spear out of himself, telling him, you were just hit by a motorcycle. Anyway, that kid needs help. She's in way over her head. And Wade tells him, I agree. But Miss Sweet 16 isn't gonna let us help her. Just then, more soldiers begin to run at the two of them, and a few moments later, Wade and Logan escape on the motorcycle that hit Wade in the head. Logan cuts off the arm of the soldier that grabbed onto the bike, and Wade then asks, what does he want with the girl anyway? And Logan explains that the girl is an Omega level mutant. Her power lit up Cerebro like the 4th of July. She's gonna need proper training and the Xavier School can give her that. And Wade then asks, so what are her powers then? And Logan tells him she's a teleporter. It looks like she can only teleport objects, not people though. It looks like the Gen 4 mopes want to make a weapon out of her. But we've been through this mess before, haven't we? Wade tells him, yeah. And Logan tells him, all right, something we can agree on. Now let's hurry and get to the kid. After making one more turn, the two catch up to Maddie, and as Logan shouts to her, she turns back yelling, I already told you to stay away! I'm fine on my... But then from behind a car, a soldier steps out tasing Maddie, and soon Hart's helicopter touches down. Wade yells, faster and furiouser, here I come! And he speeds up to catch the helicopter. As the helicopter unloads hundreds of bullets, Wade tells it, okay, that didn't go as planned. And that's when the helicopter begins to escape, with Wade getting back up telling Logan, just so you know, this is your fault. The next day, Logan follows Maddie's scent, and Wade goes on explaining a story about these nuns that were really ex-special forces, so he beat the crap out of them. Logan then stops Wade for a moment and pops a claw, cutting Wade's vocal cords. And Logan simply says, that's so much better. Wade tries to speak, but with his throat cut, he ends up spitting blood all over Logan, and then Logan asks, how could you even be more annoying without talking? However, below in the underground facility, directly beneath the Tari group of soldiers. Wait, and Wade continues taunting the men. Wade pushes Logan out. Wade then says, that can't be good, so what are we playing? Are being dropped onto Logan and Wade, with Logan shouting, I told you not to dare them! A short while later, though, as Wade begins to open up his eyes, he sees Maddie. She tells him, man, you guys suck. Don't worry, that's why I'm here to rescue you. And she asks, how exactly are they going to do that, seeing as they are now stuck in prison with her? So do they have any idea what it's like to be poked and prodded to be a lab rat? Wade takes off his mask and Maddie looks at him going, oh. Just then, Logan begins to wake up asking, what the hell is that smell? It smells like sweaty chicken, like a giant moist Band-Aid. And Wade clears his throat shouting, Wade looks back at Maddie and says, you can teleport things, right? How about you just teleport us? And Maddie tells him that she can only affect objects, not living things. She's tried. So Wade tells her, sure you can, you just need to focus really hard. And Maddie says, fine. She begins to focus. Her eyes go white and a small cactus appears. And Wade yells, I knew you could do it. And Logan sniffs and says, that's actually a fake. He pops his claws and he says, we're gonna see how tough this door is against adamantium. As Logan walks and slashes at the door opens up, an electric prod pokes him and shocks him. He's then dragged out of the room and Maddie asks, what are they supposed to do now? And Wade says, I got an idea and you're probably not gonna like it. Moments later, outside of the cell, Wade screams in pain and Maddie shouts that there's something going on with this guy. The guard runs in asking what's going on and Wade yells, I've made a huge mistake. However, as the door closes behind the guard, it's suddenly kicked off its hinges and Wade tells himself, all right, can ruin this. Wade walks out having Logan's claws and yells, Schnuck! Damn it, Schnick! Logan leans up from the examination table that he was on asking, Schnuck? And Wade asks, what's wrong with Schnuck? Schnick is in need of a reboot anyway. He then jumps into one of the scientists, stabbing him, asking, how about a new catchphrase then? It's stabbing time! While Wade goes all Wolverine, hacking people to pieces, Logan then asks, why does Wade have my claws? And Maddie tells him, well, he wanted to help, so I teleported them. Logan says, right, well, do me a favor and give them back. And get me out of here before Wade does something crazy, or rather crazier. Wade pulls the claws out of another scientist and looks at another and asks, how many pieces can I cut you into? He pulls back and begins to punch into the scientist with the claws, but before the claws can stab, Wade ends up just punching the man in the face. He then begins to ask, what happened? Logan screams as the adamantium is put back onto his bones. As the scientist hits the button to open up the door, Logan tells Wade, take the kid and run. Wade grabs Maddie and jumps over the next group of soldiers, and Maddie asks, what about Grandpa what's-his-name? Wade tells her he'll be fine. It's everyone else that should be worried. Once the two are clear, Logan begins to rip through everyone that is within arm's reach. Cutting off, stabbing, slicing, stabbing, more cutting off. Once the bodies and the body parts hit the ground, Logan stops and he sniffs. I can smell you, Hart. From the pile, Hart holds up a file telling him, you don't understand. You don't know what she is. Her file. Logan runs up, picking up Hart's body with his claws, slamming him into the wall, and Hart tells him, listen. And he whispers something into his ear. Logan pauses and then says, I'm sorry. This is some mess that we've gotten ourselves into. The least I can do is put you out of your misery. Meanwhile, back with Wade and Maddie, Wade asks, so have you ever tried teleporting a person? And Maddie tells him to just drop it. The exit should be right over here, but it's not. So Wade tells her, crud! And the door before them opens up with more soldiers behind it, with Wade adding, Double crud. What I wouldn't give for a pair of swords right now. Suddenly, swords appear in Wade's hand, and he says, "Oh, I could kiss you right now, but I'm not that sort of criminal." And Maddie tells him, "Gross." As Wade begins to cut down the soldiers, one manages to grab Maddie and put a gun to her head and tells Wade to stand down. Maddie looks at the gun and makes it disappear, and Wade then stabs into the man's throat, telling him, "That's teamwork. So now let's make like a tree and open this door so that we can leave." And then a voice tells him, "No." Logan walks up all bloodied and bruised, shards of glass sticking out of his body, and he tells him, "The kid stays here." Wade says, "I'm pretty sure we're supposed to be rescuing the girl, not leading her to an impending doom." Logan tells him, "Yeah, that's not happening. I saw her file. She's too dangerous. She's volatile, unpredictable. Should have listened, but I was too stubborn." Wade takes out his sword and lunges at Logan, and Logan asks, "Do you think I want this?" And then he punches Wade in the face. Wade reaches for his gun, stating, "I just think that you can't handle this. Well, you can cut it out now." And Logan proceeds to cut his hand off. And Wade shouts, "That's not what I meant! You literally just disarmed me!" While the two go back and forth, hacking away at each other,
Crazy.
Maddie shouts, "Will you just stop? I never asked for help from either of you." Her eyes begin to glow and there's a flash of white, and then suddenly everything around them begins to look different. Wade says, "See? I knew you could teleport people." And Logan tells him, "Try and catch up. She didn't teleport us. She went and teleported everything else." Up above the three of them is the chunk of earth that the facility was on, ready to fall back on them. Wade looks up and says, "Well, we better get the hell out of here. Maddie, do something." She tells him that there isn't anything that she can do. Logan looks at her and says, "You could teleport us, isn't that right?" And Maddie says, huh? Logan says, "Look, Cerebro sent me here to stop you before your powers became too dangerous, but that's already happening. So go ahead and get us out of here before we're flattened." Maddie asks, "Us? Okay then." Suddenly, both her and Logan disappear, leaving Wade in the hole. Wade looks up at the falling rocks and shouts, "You have got to be kidding me!" A second later, the entire facility falls on Wade. A few hours later, the rubble begins to get pushed aside as Wade pulls himself out, stating, "Wow, well, that was easy. Talk about being stuck between a rock and a hard place." As Wade drags himself out, he sees Logan walking towards him and he yells, "Thanks a lot for leaving me to rot." Logan doesn't say anything, and Wade goes on talking to himself, basically. "So, Wade, how have you been?" "Oh, I've been totally fine. Been crawling under a massive base all day." The Wade tells him, "That ain't gonna happen. Now get out of my way." Logan pops his claws, shouting, "Make me!" The two start stabbing and cutting at each other, with Logan yelling, "Will you just stop and listen? Hart told me the truth before he died." Maddie led them to Gen form. She sat back and watched without even blinking as we killed all of those people. There's something wrong with her. We've been trying to save her, but she didn't want to be saved. She's a killing machine just like us. I tried to shut her down, but I failed. Let's flash back to moments after the base fell. Logan shouts, asking, "Why did you take Wade?" And Maddie tells him because she knows about him and he'll be okay. You, however, I'm not so sure about. Logan asks, "What is that supposed to mean?" "Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You're coming with me to the Xavier school." But before Logan can grab Maddie, she says, "I can teleport people, but there's one problem." And suddenly Logan falls to his knees in pain. She says that she's sorry. She told them to leave her alone. Back when her powers started showing, she could just think about something and make it appear, including people. The problem is, though, that whatever she teleports dies. She watched as she brought her dad home from work and he died right in front of her. Wade didn't deserve that, but you do. You deserve it because what you're about to do to me. And I'm telling you now, once and for all, back off. Come at me again and you'll regret it. See you, old man. Or not. I really don't care at this point. Logan tries to stand back up, stating that he should have put her down when he had the chance, and then he coughs up blood, screaming in pain. Now, back in the current time, Wade says, "Wow." And Logan tells him, "Yeah, I've been trying to heal ever since. She learned the hard way that teleporting people kills them, and they made her." Wade tells him, Whoa. You mean you made her? Either way, she's kind of our responsibility now, right? She needs our help." And Logan sighs, telling him, "I'm not so sure." And Wade goes on telling him, "Look, maybe I misread the situation. Maybe." Logan then tells him, "I can't blame you. I'm guilty of the same. We should probably just get going."
Easy, bro.
Aw, we're becoming friends. Do me a favor. Fist bump? Logan looks at Wade as he holds his fist up and then he smiles, fist bumping Wade and stabbing into his fist. 2 months later on a farm in Idaho, a man takes his bags into a barn and he shuts it down. As he does, a voice calls out to him, "Hello, Hart." And Hart looks back stating, "Hello, Maddie." Maddie, now with a new look and shorter hair, says that she's heard that he's been looking for her. Well, she came here to tell him that she let them experiment on her. It was so that she could learn more about herself, and he could never come looking for her. Maddie's eyes begin to glow, and from Hart's chest, blood begins to appear. And Maddie goes on stating, "Those other two, they best not make the same mistake as you." And with that, Hart's body lifelessly falls to the ground. been a long time since Star-Lord Peter Quill has been on Earth. Things are completely different from the last time that he remembered it. He lounges around his apartment in nothing but his sweatpants, and he tells Abigail Brand that he has plenty more beers if she'd like to join him. Abigail tells him that it's not even 11 in the morning and he's already a complete mess. After kicking his feet off at the table, Abigail throws him her shirt, telling him to get dressed. The only reason that he is not in custody of Alpha Flight is because he saved the planet. She then hands him a cell phone, telling him that she has pre-programmed all of his known Earth associates, so try going out for once. Peter looks at the phone and he sees that he only has 2 contacts, Howard the Duck and Kitty Pryde. After staring at Kitty's contact, Peter decides to call Howard. For those of you guys who don't know, Peter Quill and Kitty Pryde were intended to get married until the entire incident in which the Guardians disbanded happened. Kitty went off to go join up with the X-Men again and kind of just left Peter there. After a short conversation with Howard, Howard tells him, well, let me get this straight. You're depressed and you're lonely. How about you try being trapped on Earth as a duck? Boo-hoo, Peter Quill, go to an art gallery or something. Maybe there's someone who will mistake you for a Greek sculpture, and then you can get all the attention that you so desperately need. Bye. And so Peter does just that. After listening to some old woman tell him about Van Gogh, Peter hears a familiar voice across the hall. When he looks over, he sees Kitty with a group of her students, and he asks her what she's doing here. One of the students says, "Ooh, it's the boyfriend." And Kitty snaps at him, telling him that Peter Quill is not her boyfriend. Now go look at some life-changing masterpieces while she talks to her friend. Peter nervously says, "Look, I know we broke up, but I'm stuck here for a while and thought maybe we could hang out. Nothing more." She tells him, yeah, about that, she's actually really busy with the X-Mansion being an actual limbo. And is that your gun? How did you get it past the metal detectors? Kitty walks off saying, you know what? Forget it. I have a lot to take care of with real children. And Peter shouts, wait, I'm trying not to be creepy or anything. But a voice tells him, you know, bub, you kind of are. Peter looks over to see old man Logan and he says, for the love of God, how did you get past the metal detectors? Logan tells him, look, you're raising your voice in an art gallery in front of children carrying a gun. You best keep on walking. Peter leaves and he heads back to his apartment trying to call Howard again, but a beggar asks him for some change. He says, actually, he does got some, but before Peter can hand over the change, the beggar says, actually, I'm fine, gotta go. Peter sighs, telling him, God, everyone hates me. And then Logan's voice tells him, actually, it's because of me. Peter asks, what is this, part 2 of Big Brother Logan? Are you here to fight or something? Logan leans in, telling him, I've got no desire to knock you out, but you going unconscious is not entirely off the table. A short while later at a local bar, Peter sits with the beer, telling Logan that this isn't exactly what he thought it would be. And after several beers, he says that he's gotta hit the can, he'll be right back. When Peter leaves, Logan sniffs the air and notices a man is about to pull a gun on him. And as he points, Logan jumps up, swiping away, cutting the man's arm off. Peter steps out of the bathroom, zipping up his fly, telling him, you know, I used to go on space adventures, and then a glass is thrown against the wall next to him. He looks over to see Logan fighting against a group of thugs, and he jumps in the brawl, telling him, wow, I'm glad I'm trapped on Earth instead of some dangerous unknown part of space. The two start swinging, and Peter tackles one of the men to the outside, and another calls for some reinforcements. Logan jumps out asking Peter if he's up for this, and Peter laughs, haha, I live for this. The two jump in, and the thugs open fire, and a stray bullet hits one of the bystanders. Logan's eyes turn white with rage as he rushes at the group of men. Peter runs over to help the woman that was shot, but as he does, he sees a pair of headlights, and he quickly takes out his element gun, creating a pillar of stone, causing the car to crash into the side. Peter helps the woman up, and the cops surround Peter, shouting for him to drop his gun. Peter puts it down, telling them, it's cool! One of the good guys, like, saved the universe a bunch of times, good guys. One of the officers grabs Peter, slams him into a patrol car, telling him that he doesn't care if he's Captain America. He's under arrest. The next morning at the Manhattan Criminal Court, Peter tells his lawyer, no, I will not autograph your paper with the headline of me getting arrested. The judge bangs his gavel down, saying that he would appreciate the defense not interrupting Mr. Murdoch's closing arguments. But before Matt can get back to his statement, the courtroom bursts open and Abigail walks in, stating that she understands that there are vigilantes in the courts that they turned a blind eye to. For example, Daredevil. Abigail and Matt lock eyes. Abigail then steps forward, stating that she is Abigail Brand, Lieutenant Commander of the Alpha Flight Space Initiative. Mr. Quill here has saved the universe and is temporarily on Earth as a guest of Alpha Flight. And though they understand ignorance of the law is no excuse, he did help people. So please allow Peter back into their custody. The judge sighs, stating that it seems like every day there's something new pushing the boundaries of their antiquated laws. But fine. Mr. Quill, you are ordered to pay a $10,000 fine and contribute 100 hours of community service. Abigail then pulls Peter aside, telling him that this is the last time that she bails out his beautiful butt. 2 weeks go past, and Peter tells the receptionist of the Winter Homes Retirement Community in New Jersey that he is from the Golden Friends program to see Edmund Allen. The woman says that Mr. Allen is in Unit 207. Please do not burn down the building or anything. And Peter says, I don't have any superpowers. After heading upstairs, Peter knocks at Edmund's door, and Edmund pokes out, stating, just go away, I don't need you. But Peter lets himself in, stating that actually the courts need me here. So tell me about your days gone by. Edmund sits in his recliner, stating, I'm going to kill him. My son Greg signed me up for this stupid program out of his own guilt for not visiting. I'm perfectly fine on my own. Peter tells him, well, you're not according to the court, so how about we go out? A short while later, the two head outside and Edmund asks, what are you supposed to be, some disgraced astronaut? And Peter tells him, not exactly, but close enough. I'm just a guy who likes adventure. So how about we go on an adventure? Edmund shakes his head telling him, nope, I've had enough adventure for a lifetime. It just comes like a tornado and it tears your world apart. Peter tells him that he wasn't gonna ask him to go bungee jumping or fight Dr. Doom. I was suggesting ice cream or something. But before the two of them can go on, there's a loud crash and Peter runs over to see two men robbing a bank who just happened to crush their own getaway car. Peter says that he can't stay here and watch. He's got to, and then a voice shouts, not so fast, jerks. Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, jumps in, grabbing and disarming one of the men, stating that she's surprised anyone would rob a bank in New Jersey. She's all over this town! Edmund says, look, it's a real superhero. We should just go. And Kamala grabs the other guy and says that the rocks are on the outside and there's no explosion, so how did they blow up the bank? Suddenly, a rock is thrown into Kamala's back and Mind Blast shouts, it's easy when you Mind Blast! Peter quickly jumps in, tackling Mind Blast, and Kamala shouts, you should run! This is insanely dangerous! And Kamala leans in, asking, wait, are you Star-Lord? The guy with no superpowers and his trusty senior citizen sidekick who also has no powers? I'm literally a child who can't even vote, and I know that this is incredibly irresponsible. Go back to Star Cave or whatever it is you do while I take care of these people with my superpowers. As Kamala walks off, Peter says, that was pretty fun, right? And as they head back, Peter notices a bag of money on the ground. Edmund says that they should just leave the bag of trouble, except now the bag is gone. As the two of them get back to Edmund's home, Edmund sees that his door is already unlocked. Peter charges in to see a man going through Edmund's things and he grabs him, but Edmund shouts, wait, that's my son Greg. After letting go, Greg asks, this is who you sent? This is Space Lord. And Peter says, actually, it's Star-Lord? And hey, I'm not the one breaking into apartments here. Greg pushes Peter to the side, stating, the manager let me in, since I am the one paying for all of this. And Edmund shouts, without my permission. Peter storms out, telling him, you know what? Father-son squabbles is kind of a trigger for me, so I'm gonna go. And Greg yells, yeah, you better leave. Peter turns back to argue with Greg, but Edmund stops him and tells him, Greg, look, if you want Peter. Days later, Peter meets up with Greg and tells him that he's sorry he's late. He's used to traveling millions of miles per second without a funny stench. The subway system's been hard to get used to. Greg says that you better get used to being faster. My boss doesn't tolerate lateness. The two walk into a dark alleyway, and after being let in, Greg says, welcome to the bar with no name. Try not to get killed. 3 weeks go by with Peter having no problems adjusting to the villainous crowd that frequents this bar. After punching Jigsaw, he tells Javelin that he's sorry about that guy, and she says that she could have handled it herself. Once the shift is over, Peter heads home, and Greg stops him, asking, are you gonna go see my dad? If so, tell him this is for him. Peter says that he could do it himself, but Greg says that they should just stay out of each other's lives. Father-son stuff, you know? Peter grabs the trash, telling him, yeah, I get it. My dad left after knocking up my mom and then tried to kill me as an adult. Greg tells him, that's pretty dark. But, given any thought to what I asked you earlier? Peter says that he's flattered that he wants him to stay permanently, but wants to ship something for myself. And then as he drops the bag into the dumpster, he sees a shadow and quickly elbows hitting the person. Daredevil stumbles back, and then he jumps in, kicking Peter. The two begin to fight, and as Daredevil pins Peter down, he says, I got word from the DA that you were supposed to be staying out of trouble. Peter coughs, asking, is everything illegal on this planet? Element guns and garbage disposal? But attack a guy in an alleyway while wearing a mask, that's totally fine. Peter gets up and he walks off, saying, I will be sure to never take out the trash again. But Daredevil stops him, asking, where's the money? Peter stops, asking, what money? And Daredevil shouts that you and Miss Marvel stopped a bank robbery and the police are short $4,000. It's a bunch of times. That goes to the top of everything. Call me and get a better job too. Peter looks at the card and says, wow, that's some nice embossing. Later that day, Peter goes out to see Edmund, and the two take a walk into the park when Peter sees an ice cream truck and says that he hasn't had some since forever. Edmund walks up and asks for two, and as Peter reaches for his wallet, Edmund tells him, I got this, don't worry about it. Peter grabs the cones and notices that Edmund has a lot of money in his wallet. When the two of them get back to Edmund's apartment, Peter tells Edmund that he couldn't help but notice how hefty his wallet has gotten. And in other funny news, it turns out that there's a fair amount of money missing from that robbery. Edmund stares for a moment and he says, look, nobody got hurt from me taking it. Peter says, that's not the point. You don't think that I stole it. Edmund then goes into his drawer and he pulls out the money, handing it to Peter, stating, I figured, though I already did buy some stuff like ice cream, so there's only like $3,200 left. So later that night, Peter calls up Daredevil to return the money, and Daredevil says that he will see to it that it gets to the DA drop-off point since his friend mistakenly took it, but he will need his name to keep an eye on him. Peter shouts, come on! And then he sits down and says, fine, it's Edmund Allen. Daredevil goes on and then stops. Wait, did you say Edmund Allen? Elsewhere, at this time, a patron of the bar with no name, Diamond Head, wakes up asking, where am I? A female voice tells him that he really shouldn't have been spilling secrets about the bar. Thanks to you, I've been getting the drop on these jobs before them. She also realized that you can be more useful than just getting me information. Black Cat stands over there with one of Diamond Head's legs, telling him, you're actually a resource yourself. Back at Edmund's apartment, Peter asks Daredevil if he's really supposed to believe that Edmund is some sort of supervillain. Edmund gets up from his recliner stating, cat burglar, supervillains are idiots. Edmund then tells Daredevil that he quit the game after he barely got away from him during his last robbery. He looks at a picture of his brother stating that he always swore that he would stop it if it got too dangerous. And Peter asks, what, so you have powers? And Edmund tells him, no, I have a suit that came out of somewhere or sometime, who knew? It was my brother's job to figure that stuff out. All we knew is that it was something alien, and the suit could just go places, more specifically the boots and the gloves. One day when my brother was working on the suit, the men that he worked for killed him because he wasn't telling them his findings. So using the boots and the gloves, I killed his employers, and when no one knew, I took off the boots and the gloves. Daredevil says that he robbed people, and Edmund says, look around, does it look like I'm living the high life? I gave most of it away already. Daredevil shouts, it doesn't matter. You broke the law. And Peter stops him, telling him, look, I spent years traveling through space, so I legitimately do not care about your laws here. Just leave the harmless old man alone and let me handle this. Shouldn't you be punching drug lords and not star lords? Both the men look at Edmund, and Daredevil leaves stating, if you step out of line once. Peter then turns back to Edmund and he says that he thought that he was above it all, but all he did was end up shutting everyone out. This is what life looks like on the other side of bad decisions. Later that night at the bar, Shocker asks Peter if he could tell him about Diamond Head. You see, a few nights ago, Diamond Head left the bar and he heard a scuffle. When he went outside to check on it, there was no one there, so he's just worried. Peter stops him, telling him, you're just worried that whatever happened to him might happen to you, right? And Shocker shouts, yeah, or no. Well, I'm just worried about Diamond Head too. I'm complex. Peter tells him, fine, we'll go out back and check around to see if there's anything left behind. So Peter puts on his mask and Shocker watches and says, that's some real Iron Man right there. And Peter shouts, oh my God, stop talking. Peter starts to scan the area and he finds some diamond dust along the walls, and he says that this looks like there was a fight here. Shocker asks if he thinks that dust is worth anything, and Peter goes on completely ignoring that comment, stating the trail stops at the street, so it looks like Diamond Head maybe was captured. Peter takes off his mask, telling him something happened and I could really use the distraction. So, you know, I'm gonna go save Diamondback's life. Shocker tells him it's Diamond Head, and Peter says, whatever. He walks back inside telling Greg to go over the security footage, and Greg tells him that that is not good for business. Peter tells him nope, or you know, maybe Diamond Head, but let's see. As the footage plays, Peter says that everything happened in the alleyway where the camera is not facing, which means whoever did this knew how to not be spotted. He can, though, make out the license plate, so he's gonna make another quick call. Over at a gym, Abigail picks up her phone asking, what? You run out of shirts or something? And a short while later, Peter and Shocker head over to the address to where the license plate was registered to, and they see that it's a giant warehouse. The two sneak in, and Peter says that they should split up, and Shocker says, no effing way! Strike the numbers! Just like when I was in the Sinister Six! Peter says, yeah, and how did that work out? The two head down the hallway towards a light, and when they open up the door, they see Diamond Head's head and foot on the table. Before Peter could do anything, Shocker pushes Peter down, telling him, the duck! And soon Black Cat's men run in swinging. As Peter fends off against the attacks, he sees Shocker taken down, and he runs over grabbing his blaster. One man grabs a hold of Peter, and another swings a bat at him, so Peter hits the blaster, launching them both into the wall. His vision then begins to fade, and as it comes back, he sees Black Cat telling him that he's a pretty handsome renegade bartender, isn't he? Not so sure about the beard, though. Peter says that he'll take that into consideration, but who the hell are you? Felicia leans down smiling, telling him that I'm your boss. My name is Felicia, but people call me the Black Cat. Peter tells her that he would like to file a complaint with HR, and Felicia laughs, saying that she owns the bar, so. See, the bar business has given her some valuable information, allowing her to take over the city, and she's going to need him for a little something. You're about to break into the apartment of our next target, the wealthiest denizen of the little bar, and if not, well, you have someone close to you, right? Peter runs over to Edmund's apartment, and as he bursts in, his phone goes off, and Felicia says, no, it's not the old man, but you will need him, because he will help if he wants to get his son back. The next day, Peter watches Edmund as he walks into the building across the street, stepping on air, and he asks, so you just had these magic boots and gloves lying around the whole time and you never told anyone? Edmund calls back that these things breed secrets, and those secrets cost him his wife and distanced his son and broke their trust, something that he might not yet get back. Peter sulks, telling him, I would actually be surprised. Edmund walks back, telling him the only reason he's doing this is because of Greg. Can't he just call those superhero friends of his? Peter tells him that Felicia made it very clear that if she spots anyone breaking into Javelin's penthouse, Greg gets it, but he has a few ideas. Meanwhile, later that night at the bar, Felicia stands on top of it, telling everyone that she's afraid she has an announcement to make. People here have been selling the secrets of the individuals at the bar, which is a clear violation of the rules, but don't worry, she has dispatched Mr. Quill and Mr. Allen, because there's a traitor among them, someone named Javelin. Everyone gets up and surrounds Javelin as she tells them that they do know she's playing them all, right? All of the villains move in on Javelin, and as they get close, one of them has 3 claws shoot into his back. As the man falls, Logan says that he really needs to stop drinking at bars. Meanwhile, back at Felicia's warehouse, Greg asks one of the guards if he can bite of that sandwich. The guard tells him there's no way that he's giving him a bite of this $12 deluxe pastrami, and then he laughs. And then there's a thud. When the guard turns back, he sees his partner knocked out and Daredevil smiling through the shadows. Over at Javelin's penthouse, Edmund begins cracking the safe and he finds an envelope, a small bag, and a book. Before they can grab the contents, the door opens and Felicia walks in, stating that she didn't want them to have all of the fun. She grabs the book and Peter says that he doesn't get it. She's a master thief. Why get them to break in? So Felicia tells him that that's true. She could have done this herself, but she runs things in this town and it's all about delegation. Peter then asks, what is it that she wanted to steal anyway? And Felicia starts flipping through the book that she took. She says that Javelin is a good thief. She keeps up-to-date notes on how to break into pretty much anywhere that counts. Edmund shouts that he doesn't give a freak about her monologue. They did what she asked. Now let Greg go. Felicia leans in smiling. Oh, Edmund, I'm going to need an experienced thief to go through all these addresses, and I'm afraid that Greg is going to be staying with me a bit longer. Suddenly, 2 batons are thrown, knocking the guns out of the guards' hands, and Daredevil jumps down from the ceiling while Peter wastes no time punching out the guards. Peter grabs his phone and he calls Abigail, stating that they are clear, shut it down. And just as he hangs up, Felicia jumps over him and out the window, and putting on his mask, he says, "Nuh-uh, lady." He hits a switch on his belt, rocketing through the glass ceiling, jumping onto Felicia. He then shouts, I've been stuck on this planet, arrested, I'm having a terrible love life, and Felicia then asks him, why do you even care? You're just a bartender. Peter runs in telling her, but I'm still Peter Quill, damn it. I guard the galaxy, including bars, penthouses, and people. As the two start their fight, a light is shined down on them, and Abigail radios out that she's going to assume that he wants to arrest her, right? Felicia quickly kicks Peter back and jumps off the ledge of the building, and as Peter runs over, he sees Edmund standing there holding Felicia. She screams for him to let her go, and he says that he has no choice. These gloves, they lock in and they don't move. She isn't going anywhere. But before Abigail can get to them, Felicia crawls up Edmund and grabs his throat, telling him that he should never have crossed the Black Cat. She then kicks Edmund as Abigail's men fire, and Edmund falls from the sky. Greg shouts for his father, but Edmund already passed out when he landed on the car. A few days later, Peter wakes up and he gets ready for Edmund's service. There isn't many that came to the cemetery, and as the service finished, Greg told Peter that he really appreciates him coming out. But please don't think that there is any more that he could have done for his father. Everyone knows that Peter Quill did everything he could for Edmund, and now he died thinking that Peter stops him, telling him, your dad loved you, and he would have given his life 10 times over to save you. As everyone leaves, Peter is given a letter. A short while later, Peter walks into Javelin's penthouse asking, you beckoned? Javelin says that she's glad that he came on such short notice, and Peter tells her that he must admit it's a bit weird considering he did just try to rob her. Javelin goes on stating that she's well aware of the position that he was in, wanting to save Gregory and sending James to protect her. She also has heard about his recent troubles with the law and the fine that he has incurred. She would like to pay him for it. As Javelin's hand creeps up Peter's thigh, he says, wait, are you trying to seduce me? Really, that would cross 3 things off my sexy bucket list scenarios.
Yeah,
Javelin bursts out laughing, stating, you're far too young for me. And a voice says, yeah, you just learned how to grow a beard, bub. Kid now! Logan tells him, milk's good for the bones. Which Peter yells back, your bones are covered in metal and you heal instantly. Logan tells him, man, you got your ticket out of here. Why not just go endanger some other seniors? Peter turns back and punches Logan in the face, telling him, screw you! And then he pulls his hand back in pain. Ha! Metal skull! Peter continues swinging and beating into Logan until finally Logan grabs him and holds him in place. And Peter sighs, telling him, you're not letting me go, are you? You just provoked me because you thought I needed to fight someone other than myself, huh? Logan tells him, yep, you won this one. Saved the kid, saved Lynn, all paid up. Yes, there was a cost, but it wasn't your fault. You just need to learn to forgive yourself and move on, bub. That's just life. Peter hugs him, and after a moment of silence, he says, your robe isn't open, is it? And Logan says, yeah, it is. Later at another bar, Rocket Raccoon slams his glass down, stating, this one is so disgusting too. The bartender says, you just tried half of our specialty cocktails. Perhaps our drinks are just not for you. Please leave since you're clearly an animal here on your own. Rocket shouts, look, my owner is in the can. I'm a service raccoon for an owner's anxiety and you can't legally kick me out of here. So just give me another beer. Peter walks up telling him, thank God my anxiety is still here. And what on earth, and I literally mean that since you are still here, are you doing in this gaudy restaurant. Rocket tells him it had a bright sign. Plus, I thought that this was like Flapper Doodles on Kramer 6. Rocket then takes a drink from his beer and he says, "Look, I'm still not ready to talk to you. You really screwed things up." Peter tells him, "I know, but there's something I want to say though. I'm sorry. The Guardians are my family. The bottom line is I should have trusted you. I should have told you that Thanos is right here. I just didn't want to loot." Rocket jumps up on the table and he shouts, "Damn right! You think you could just waltz around like you're the..." And Rocket looks back at him and tells him, "It's just time. Sometimes it's not our enemy." As he walks out, Rocket grumbles, "Of all places, he still finds me here." And then he looks up at Abigail stating, "Of course, it was you." Abigail walks in and the waitress welcomes her, asking if she would like, and Abigail tells her no, never talk to her. She pulls Peter outside and he says that he couldn't help but notice that nobody confiscated the murderous space raccoon's weapons. And Abigail asks him if he ever tried to take away garbage from a raccoon before, let alone his guns. Peter tells her good point and Abigail's just switch teleporting them away and she tells him welcome to Alpha Flight, aka her office. Peter looks around asking, does this mean that he got a job here? And Abigail shouts, never. However, you can have your element guns back. The reason I brought you up here was to tell you that we've caught enough of the bro off to know this place isn't your home. Your home moves, it's got a hull, controls, and weird friends. So take your guns, get a ship, get those friends, and get the heck off my planet. Deep in the cellar of a maximum security super prison, two guards get ready for what's about to come through that door. One of the guards asks if it's really him. And after the two hear a man screaming on the other side of it, the second guard says, yeah, it's him. The second guard says that they really don't pay them enough for this kind of crap. And three claws begin to tear through the door. Seconds later, Logan rips the rest of the door off and he jumps through, grabbing one of the guards, telling him, I need to get to the lower levels, so open up the rest of those blast doors. The other guard fires a shotgun into Logan's back, so Logan turns to him, telling him, that was a big mistake. The two guards open fire to slow Logan down, and then a man piloting a mech suit steps out, telling Logan that he's not sure why he's here, but he better stand down. Logan jumps to the suit and he begins to shred through it, saying, I really don't take kindly to orders. After grabbing the man out of the mech suit, Logan pops his claws into the man's neck and he tells him, you can either lose your head or tell me which way to go to the lower levels. The pilot points at a door, trembling, and Logan tells him, good boy. And he tears through it, leaving the guards behind. 9 days earlier, in Ileana's chambers, she tells Logan that he's got to be kidding. He wants her to send him back to the wastelands, the same post-apocalyptic, incredibly tragic, and soul-crushing wastelands from whence he came. The same place where everyone that you know and love is dead. And Logan says, almost everyone. And Ileana says, who? The Hulk baby? One of Evil Banner's broods? Ileana then asks, I thought you left him in a safe place. And Logan says, I did, but I don't know how safe being with Danny actually is. It's only a matter of time. Ileana snaps her fingers, telling him, that's the other big problem. Time. It isn't as simple as using my powers to send you back or forward. The other problem is that the future might not even be our future. Logan tells her, that's why I came to see you. And Ileana grabs Logan by the shoulders, telling him, I'm sorry, but every time that we mess with time, things go bad, so just stay here. Logan then tells her, you know me, and you know that I won't stop until I find a way to get back. And Ileana tells him, I know, but my answer is no. You're gonna have to find another way. Back in the current time, Logan heads down the hallways of the prison when he feels a web stick to his shoulder. He turns back to see Spider-Man, Miles Morales. Miles asks, what's the matter? Did they run out of rice pudding in the X-Men's cafeteria again? Logan cuts the web and telling him, this isn't your fight. You might want to back off when they got a chance. Miles swings in, kicking Logan, telling him, this is my fight now. Those webs are not cheap. And why would you want to be breaking into a prison for supervillains? He webs up Logan's feet, telling him, let me guess, it's because you got some grudge against a baddie in here and you're gonna go provide some grim and gritty justice. Close? Hot or cold? Logan steps forward, ripping the webbing apart, telling him, I'm not here to hurt anyone. And Miles swings in again, kicking Logan, telling him, you're really old. Maybe I can even help you. Logan pops his claws, telling him, trust me, ain't no one left who's gonna help me. 8 days earlier and each day after, each person who could possibly send Logan back told him no, including Dr. Doom. But as the fight goes on, Miles says that he's gotta hand it to him. He moves pretty quick for an old guy. Logan turns back, telling him, you're just as mouthy as the other Spider-Man. And then he cuts through the lock, and Miles asks, what are you? Uh-oh. Logan cuts the last lock, telling him, yeah, uh-oh. And all the villains begin to walk out of their cells. While Miles tries to fight off the released criminals, Logan goes down the pathway until he reaches the man that he's been looking for. And as he walks into the cell, Asmodeus asks, I do not know who you are. I am the Scourge of Satan. I am one who walks with the night, slayer of angels, prince of dark magic. Logan holds out his claws, telling him, I know exactly who you are, and I'm here to make you an offer you can't refuse. Asmodeus asks, what is it that you want? And Logan grabs him by the neck, telling him, I did my homework on you, Mr. Charles Benton. Files say that you zapped Hawkeye and Wonder Man back to the medieval times. So right now, I find myself in need of a man with those type of particular set of skills. As he lets go, Logan asks, so what's it going to be? I can get you out of here and then you zap me back to where I need to go. Asmodeus falls to the ground, coughing. Surely your friends would have helped you. And Logan says, yeah, they thought it was a bad idea, which is why I'm resorting to a piece of scum with no morals. Asmodeus sits up, telling him, if I could use magic, I wouldn't be here. I need many of my artifacts, objects of power. Logan pulls out a backpack that he was hiding under his jacket, and he takes out a costume and a scepter. And Asmodeus says, those were taken by the Avengers long ago. Logan tells him, yeah, I may have taken them from Doctor Strange, so do we have a deal or not? Asmodeus shouts, what do you want, a blood oath? Fine, we have a bargain. The man is thrown outside of the cell and Logan says, we may want to hurry up. My little distraction has almost run its course. Miles with the rest of the security guards walk in and Miles asks, who the heck is that? Asmodeus shouts, I am Asmodeus and I walk in the shadows. I am the Scourge of Satan. And Logan cuts him off, telling him, yeah, put a sock in it. Let's just get out of here. Asmodeus sighs and then creates a portal. Fine. In a flash of light, Logan and Asmodeus step out and Logan asks, where are we? Asmodeus tells him, New Jersey. Stephen Strange did not find all of my weapons and tools. There are many still hiding here. Logan asks him, so, hiding is a low-rent storage locker in Jersey? And Asmodeus tells him, yes. We all don't have Xavier Mansions or Sanctum Sectorums, now do we? Logan cuts the lock and pulls out the unit. He says, I can really smell the mold here. As Asmodeus begins to go through his boxes, Logan says, I want to make one thing clear. I need an escape hatch, something for me to bring with me, like a time limit. Asmodeus tells him, yes, I've gathered that much. I just need to find it. I know I had it with the National Geographic. Aha! A few moments later, Asmodeus finishes setting up the makeshift ritual in the storage locker, saying that this is so much easier with someone willing. A few moments later, he holds out an amulet stating, this will keep you tethered to this time and place. The spell will only last for 4 days though, which afterwards you will be returned here with your body. Logan asks, what do you mean by body? And Asmodeus explains, it's your consciousness that will be traveling. You will inhabit your own body in the past. Logan says, I'm not sure I like the sound of that. And Asmodeus tells him, well, that's how the spell works. So, do you want to go back or not? Asmodeus then opens up a box and sets out a knife and Logan pops his claws. Asmodeus tells him, relax, I just need to get a bit of your blood for the spell. You can heal, right? Logan holds out his hand and he cuts into Logan's palm, draining the blood into a small cup. As he drinks it, Logan tells him, that is disgusting. And Asmodeus tells him, I need to do it if you want to return. It's blood magic. He then leans forward, placing his hands on Logan's head, telling him, I just need to look into your past a bit to know where to send you. Logan's consciousness slowly begins to lift out of his physical body, and soon the ritual is over. As he starts to get back up, he tells him, I must confess, I may have fudged the details just a bit. I didn't say which part of your past I was going to be sending you to. Elsewhere in the timeline, Logan wakes up in a pile of snow covered in blood. He starts to look around thinking, this isn't where I left the baby. Which part of the wastelands did you send me to, Colorado? As Logan takes a few steps out, he sees a bunch of soldiers slaughtered, scattered about. Before Logan has a chance to move, a rifle is held to his head and a man tells him, you better stop right there, you filthy savage. Shortly after, a colonial man rides up on a horse telling them all, it looks like we finally got the jump on you. The Canadians' best assassin is now our prisoner. Logan thinks to himself, crap, it's 1812. Logan is led through the snowy woodlands and he starts to remember what this is. It's the War of 1812, and he can't remember what happened next. He's then thrown into a cell as General Macmillan walks in telling him, this man doesn't look so dangerous now, does he? Macmillan looks down at Logan and asks, why do you think I had my men scouring the woods for you? Is it because one of my soldiers you just butchered back in the Battle of Detroit was my son? Macmillan pulls Logan's head back, slashing away at his face, and without saying a word, Logan growls. Everyone watches closely and they see the wound on Logan's face begin to heal, and Macmillan shouts for everyone to get out, lock the cell. Captain Everett holds out an amulet, and he says that they also found this near the prisoner, and it's glowing. Logan spots the amulet, the only way that he'll be able to get home, and then his claws pop out. He knows that if there's any chance for him to return, he's gonna be with that amulet. He rips through the chains and the cell bars, and he charges at the soldiers. All of them begin to open fire, and as Logan leans back up, all he can do is growl. While Logan fires at the soldiers, Macmillan begins to escape with the amulet. Logan tears his way through running after Macmillan, and then he tackles him to the ground, taking back his amulet. After getting away, he looks at the glowing amulet, and then his spiritual body is taken back out and sucked right back into the time stream. He thinks that maybe this nightmare is over, and then the darkness and the pain sets in, and it's pain that he's never felt before. But then he remembers. He does remember this pain. And after working up the courage to open up his eyes, he knows exactly where he is. Weapon X. However, as Logan does open up his eyes, he sees the amulet floating next to him. He desperately swims, trying to grab at it. The scientists outside shock Logan to stop him, but he continues to try until he finally catches the amulet. The time stream opens back up, and he's pulled back out of his younger body, off into another version of himself in the timeline. Meanwhile, in the proper time, Asmodeus tells the henchmen from all of the different organizations that he is now in possession of a weapon deadlier than anything that they could have ever known. He'll start this off by asking, how much will each of them pay for this man? Back with Logan, his eyes open up and he sees the yellow and the blue costume, which is much better than floating around in Weapon X. And that's when he hears the sounds of trees snapping. He looks up to see that he's in the middle of the fight between the Hulk and Wendigo. Logan remembers that this is the first time that he ever went up against Banner. And between those two giant things is the amulet. Of course, that's where it is. Logan brings out his claws and he jumps into the middle of the fight, shouting, "Wolverine is coming through!" Hulk shouts, "Little man jumps around like rabbit! Stand still or Hulk smash!" With a single swipe from the Hulk, Logan's body is thrown through the trees, but rather than fight off the Hulk, he cuts into Wendigo. The Hulk then punches Wendigo away, telling him, "Hulk doesn't understand! First little man fight Hulk, now he fight Hulk enemy!" Logan doesn't respond to him, and instead he jumps past the Hulk, grabbing at the amulet. The Hulk knocks Logan back into the ground, and he grabs the amulet asking, "What this?" But not knowing what the amulet is, the Hulk tosses it off into the woodlands. He then digs into the ground, pulling out a giant boulder, and he says, "I will show Beauty Man how strong Hulk am!" Logan rolls around, cutting into the Hulk's leg, and he runs into the woods where the amulet fell. Just as Logan grabs for it, the Hulk jumps down right onto his back, and he begins to pound. But before Logan can lose the feeling in his body, his soul is zapped into the time stream. He opens his eyes again to see that he's not in the woods, but in Central Park, the place where, oh no, he can feel the fiery heat, and then he hears Jean shouting that she is fire and life incarnate. She is now and forever Phoenix! She blasts everyone away with a fire blast, and Logan gets back up trying to reason with her, hoping that this time things might be different. He looks back at the amulet and he reaches out calling for Jean, and that's when the giant Phoenix appears. Logan watches the Phoenix leave, and with a heavy heart, he picks up the amulet, wishing to be anywhere but here. With another flash of light, he opens his eyes to find himself in Japan, right in the middle of a ninja ambush. The claws come out and blood and limbs fly everywhere, and when it's all said and done, Logan says that made him feel better. He holds out the amulet, ready to jump yet again, and then he stops, saying that there's one more thing that he has to do. He jumps from rooftop to rooftop until he finally opens the door up to see Mariko. She asks if everything's alright, and he kisses her, telling her, "Alright, now I can go." He pulls himself out of the water, gasping for air. The smell of the sewers. He would know that smell from anywhere. He was back in Madripoor. Back in the current time, one of the Hive agents asks how can they be so sure that they don't have to worry about Wolverine returning. An AIM agent says that they'll pay $1 million. They need proof that he's not there. Asmodeus smiles, telling them fine, and he takes out a dagger, stabbing it into Logan's chest. Of course, his body doesn't move, because over in the past, he yells as his body feels that pain. But before he has a chance to even think about what just happened, a young boy skates by, stealing the amulet. The boy weaves through the crowds as Logan runs through, knocking everyone over, and then he turns into the alleyway after the boy. That's when he sees nothing. Then a group of men ask what a hairy barbarian is doing in their alley. Logan looks at the men and he thinks to himself that he doesn't have time to deal with any Yakuza, but it seems he won't have a choice in the matter. He calls out to the leader, Dragonhead, telling them that if they're looking for death, he'll deliver. Dragonhead gives the order to shoot, and all but one of the men light up Logan. That one single man looks at Logan's body, telling him he's toast. And then the schnick can be heard. Logan jumps out of the trash, telling them, "You took your best shot. Now it's my turn." Within seconds, the alleyway is littered with bodies and blood of the dead Yakuza. And Logan asks Dragonhead what about him? Still a tough guy? Dragonhead runs off and he notices the patch that he was carrying fell out. And he says, "Screw it," and he puts it back on. A short while later, he catches up to the boy who stole the amulet, and he happens to be sitting and eating a bowl of noodles. Logan asks, "How are the noodles?" and the boy gets up to run, so Logan grabs him, telling him, "Not so fast." The boy asks, "What is this thing?" And Logan tells him, "Who knows? Freaks me the hell out too, but I gotta go." He grabs the amulet and he's brought back into the time stream, and then he blinks. As he does, a baseball whizzes by and Bobby shouts, "Strike!" Jubilee yells, "How could that have been a strike? That pitch almost took off his nose." Logan looks around and sees himself at Xavier's mansion, and he quickly turns to Bobby, telling him, "You gotta listen. I don't have much time." He yells that he needs to remember the address, 123 Bleecker Street in Jersey. The date is... But before he can tell if Bobby heard him, he's brought back into the time stream. He then falls face first in the sand, and he feels old. He looks out at the sand hills, and he says that this is it. He's back in the wastelands. He's back home. He walks down to his old house, and he grabs the doorknob thinking he really should. He already knows what he's about to find. Nothing. As the door swings open, there's Scotty, Maureen, and Jade, just like they were before. He tries to process what he's looking at, and Jade asks what he's holding. He looks at the amulet, and he steps on it, telling them, "It's nothing. I think this is... I'm home, and I'm never going back." Later, the light begins to shine into Logan's room, and Maureen says morning. So, what was that all about last night? He says he, just missed her, that's all. And then Maureen gets up telling him, well, she's not going anywhere. After breakfast, Logan and Scotty head out into the farm to get the tractor up and running. And Logan thinks how he had forgotten how this was. Just being with family, doing normal things. As the hood was closed, Logan tells himself that he came back for Banner's grandkid. But instead he got so much more. This is so real. This is real. He's home! Over in the current time, though, Asmodeus continues his business when suddenly shards of ice begin to shoot into the walls. Bobby slides in with ice claws telling him an old friend of his said to come here on this day. Gene then breaks in through the glass and tells Asmodeus to release Logan for whatever that spell he's cast on him. Asmodeus says that he, can't. And Gene asks, what do you mean that you can't? Asmodeus says, I lost contact with Logan's consciousness. He's lost in time. Back in the past, Maureen comes out and tells Logan that she really is a natural, huh? It's like Jade was born to ride. Logan looks out to see Jade riding a horse, and Scotty says that she really shouldn't be out there. Today is payment day. Just then, a ship flies down onto the field, and one of the Hulk gang members says, she looks cute. Another one tells her, if you say so, but I've never really trusted redheads. Logan runs up asking, what do they want? And the Banners tell him, you should know why we're here. Rent's due. Logan says, you'll have it soon. Go into the market to do some trading. He then clenches his fist as he thinks that he can do something about it this time. All he has to do is bring out those claws and he can gut them right here and now. Except, the claws, they won't come out. One of the Banners punch into Logan while the others begin to stomp on him. And he thinks to himself, that's it. That's the catch. He can't change anything while in the past. He's gonna watch them die all over again. A little while later, after getting patched up, he sits on his steps and Maureen asks, how are they gonna pay them? He says that he'll go to the market and trade some of their tools. And then Jade calls out, stating that she felt sad when they hit him. She went ahead and fixed up the pretty necklace. Logan looks at the amulet, stumbling back, weighing the options. Leave this place or lose them all over again. Logan tells Jade to give him an extra big hug and tells her that he loves her so much. He holds the amulet, stating that one day he'll come home and find them dead. But not today. Today they're alive. And this is the best day of his life. Back in the current times, he gasps for air and Bobby asks if everything's all right. Gene helps Logan up and Logan looks at Bobby and says that he's impressed that the ice pick remembered. Bobby says, you know, I'm not just a pretty face. What should we do about Asmodeus? Logan tells him to toss him back in the hole where they found him. I'm going for a walk. He walks out to the pier and he thinks about how the last year all he's been doing is running around trying to find a way back home. But while he's been trying to forget them, he'd forgotten about the good stuff. The way that Maureen would always seem to just wake up just before he could. How Scotty always knew what tool was needed and never wanted to wait to get his hands dirty. And even how Jade's breath felt warm in the back of his neck when she hugged him. The past will always be with him. Since returning to the current times, Logan has decided to take some time to himself and do a little bit of traveling, which is what brought him to Toad River. He parks and he stops at a local diner and then he smells the air and he can tell that something is off. He hangs his jacket and Logan asks the waitress, where's Lexi? And the waitress says, oh, it's her day off. How about I get you some coffee? Logan sits at the bar telling her, sure. And as he looks around, the waitress begins to pour a cup when Logan grabs the waitress by the arm. Logan pulls her close and tells her, there's never been a Lexi who worked here. This place has been run by the same couple since the 60s. What'd you do to them? The cook jumps over the bar tops telling him, it's no use pretending anymore. It's still a family business, just a different family and a different business. He then tells Logan, you took something from us, something that we can't get back. But it's not like we've ever personally met. But you do know my brother, Billy Bob. Billy Bob walks out telling Bew, I'm not sure about this, I got a bad feeling. Bew doesn't even respond and continues talking to Logan. Do you remember stealing Billy Bob's clothes and leaving him in a cave? Logan stops and tells the group, I don't know what kind of stunt this is, This isn't possible. The claws come out and Bu's face begins to change into a Hulk and he says, "Oh, but it is." Everyone begins to transform into Hulks and Bu shouts, "You killed our pa, and you ran off like a little rat. Hid yourself in a whole nother dimension, but we found you and we're gonna kill you." Seconds later, Logan is knocked out the diner window as one of the Hulks jumps on him. Logan punches his claws straight into this Hulk's face, and then he thinks to himself that he killed the Hulk gang back in the Wastelands, all except Billy Bob. He should have never let him walk. The female Hulk quickly slams Logan down and the rest begin stomping on his body, telling him that it was easier than they thought. But just as they stop, Logan jumps to his feet, swinging upwards, tearing into another Hulk. Bu then kicks Logan back and Logan lunges back, stabbing into him, and then ripping through the last Hulk. With the 4 Hulks dead, Logan walks back into the diner telling Billy Bob, "You aren't going anywhere. All I want to know is how. How did you get here?" Billy Bob begins to panic, stating that their pa, he found them, but before Billy Bob could finish, Bu grabs one of the fryers from the back and pours it onto Logan. Logan's flesh begins to melt away, and the first thing that go are his eyes. So all he can do is smell his own sizzling flesh, and then he turns to swing before he turns into a puddle of skin and bones. Logan swipes into Bu's neck before falling, and as Bu shouts to Billy Bob to help him, Billy Bob tells him, "No!" and he escapes. A short while later, at the Department H weapons facility, Billy Bob crawls his way in and a man named Maestro asks what happened. Where were the trucks that him and his brother were supposed to be getting? Billy Bob says they tried to get him. They had him, Logan! We tried to get him for what he did to Pa, but he killed everyone, and Maestro shouts, "What? You set off as a personal vendetta after I told you not to?" As Maestro yells, his body changes into a Hulk, and he smacks Billy Bob, telling him, "The blood of 4 lives are on your hands." He starts to grip down on Billy Bob's neck, and Cambria yells for him to stop. They've already lost 4 lives. Losing any more won't help. Maestro tosses Billy Bob, telling him, "Now we're short-handed, and I must assume that we are no longer operating in a veil of secrecy. Load up the trucks with as many missiles as you can get." As everyone leaves, Maestro grabs Cambria, telling her that her allegiance to her brother is admirable, but if she ever defies him in front of the others again, they will be sharing a grave. Back at the diner, Logan finally regenerates enough to get up and he looks at the bodies, and he sees what they should have looked like, and he tells himself, "Keep it together." He then smells some of the blood left behind and can tell that those 5 weren't the only ones. There are more. A lot more. And when he finds them, they're gonna wish they stayed in whatever hellhole they crawled out of. Later, at a remote Yukon territory, Maestro walks up to a compound and the armed guards tell him that if he's lost, best be going somewhere else. Maestro says that he's heard that this was a good place to go if people wanted to get off the grid. They are in need of such a place. All of the other guards start to point their guns, telling him that he better turn around before they shoot him where he stands. Maestro's eyes glow green and he tells them, "I said I needed this place, so we're gonna take it." As he finishes saying that, a swarm of Hulks jump out of the woods and they descend on the base of any of them. This facility was supposed to be cleared out of its nuclear weapons, but that isn't the case. Banner's kids are too stupid to know what to do with them, but they're not stupid enough to try something. Down the road at another diner, Logan makes a call to the only person that he knows that can help him in this situation, Puck. And he tells him, "I need a favor, the kind where the person doesn't ask questions." Puck tells Logan, "Asking for a favor? Let me just mark this on my calendar real quick." Logan tells him around 6 or 7 this morning, some trucks rolled out of a decommissioned Department H bunker in the Yukon. He needs to know if they can be tracked. While Puck starts pulling the info up, he tells Logan, "You're not gonna like what's going on, but I know if you ever need help." Logan doesn't acknowledge the offer and says, "You got the location yet?" A short while later, Logan heads on Puck's lead, and as he rides, he hears something off in the distance, an unmistakable sound, and it registers way too late. An explosion goes off, destroying the motorcycle, and as Logan picks himself back up, an army jeep rolls by, running him over. He's asking him to finish it. He owes it to his dad and the others that Logan has killed. Billy Bob takes the gun and he nervously walks over to Logan's body, but as his hand trembles, he pulls the trigger. Except, there's only a click with no gunfire, and Billy Bob asks why it isn't loaded. Why did they? But before he could even ask, the other Hulks open fire on him, telling him, "Sorry, you're not welcomed at our new paradise, Billy Bob." A little while later, Logan opens his eyes and finds himself chained to a chimney stack. The Hulk from before shouts, "Oh, look who's awake. We almost thought you were really dead this time." Logan shouts, "How the hell are you here? I killed your entire filthy inbred Hulk gang back in the Wastelands." And the Hulk tells him, "Clearly, that ain't the truth, cause we're here. And thanks to your healing, we can get ours again and again and again." All the Hulks start to unload into Logan just as they did at the ambush until he stops moving. Meanwhile, back at the compound, Maestro begins his work on the nukes, and Cambria says that it's quite alarming to see him in his human form so often. Maestro says that it's not because he enjoys it, but there is something to be said for the nimble fingers of a human. Comes in handy when working on things that can blow us back to the Stone Age. So what did you come for? Because if you couldn't tell, I'm kind of busy here. Cambria asks, are we really gonna go through with this? It's strange that something so small could cause so much destruction. Why do we have to kill everyone? Why not just live here away from everyone and be with our own kind? Maestro tells her, it's because man will kill themselves with these weapons regardless. I've seen it happen. They're already dead. All the Hulks are doing is just moving up the expiration date. We're doing this because man will never leave us alone. They will hunt and kill us, just as they did to the banner of this timeline, especially after all of the blood that we've shed. The war has already begun. The only question now is, who will end it? Cambria walks up stating that he's right. She's just worried about Billy Bob. He's been gone for a long time. Maybe she's just overthinking things. Back with Logan, he begins to wake up again and he looks around when the Hulks ask him, what are you doing? Logan says, I'm looking for a way down so I can whoop your asses. And the Hulks tell him, you wouldn't even last a few seconds against us. Logan tells him, where I'm from, I used to beat your asses like a drum every damn time. All those brothers and sisters all hitting like kittens, barely even tickled. The Hulk yells for him to shut up! And Logan laughs, telling him, I would have laughed back then too, if I wasn't too busy killing all of you. The Hulk punches at Logan, and Logan lifts himself up high enough for the hit to miss and destroy the chimney. Once free from the wall, he takes the chains and he wraps them around the Hulk's neck, and then he pulls it back, snapping the neck. The other Hulks begin to run up, but with Logan's healing factor being a lot slower at this older age, he ducks away into the barn to figure out a plan. One of the girl Hulks walks in with a minigun, and out of the shadows, he stabs her in the leg. Another one from outside throws a tractor through the building, but when they go to check on Logan, they hear something wind up. Suddenly, the rest of the Hulks are riddled with bullets as Logan stands up holding the minigun. As the last of the bullets are shot, Logan throws the large gun away, and he tells one of the Hulks that he's got more than enough time to make his death long and agonizing. The Hulk tells him it doesn't matter. He's going to make him suffer worse than anything you can do to us. Logan grabs the Hulk by the shirt, asking, who is he? And the Hulk just laughs, telling him, Maestro's gonna kill you real good. Logan pushes his claws into the Hulk's leg, asking him, who the hell is Maestro, and why is he trying to kill me? The Hulk says, it's not just him, it's everyone. But before he could go any further, the Hulk passes on. Logan gets up thinking that he's never heard that name before, but then again, it could be one of those anomalies between his timeline and this one, like that weird lady Thor. As Logan walks, he falls and passes back out. Later, as he begins to wake back up, he hears a voice tell him, good morning, and he asks, what am I doing here? And the man says, what, no thanks? Your friends are worried about you, and from the looks of it, I can't blame them. Clint Barton then asks, so how about you tell your old buddy Hawkeye what's going on? Back at the compound, one of the Hulks from Logan's ambush drags herself in, stating, everyone is dead. Logan got away. Maestro runs over asking, what happened? And she tells him, Logan got free. Killed everyone. Tortured Horace. Horace told him everything. Maestro tries to hold back his anger, but he shouts to everyone, we need to pack up the truck and get ready to move now. Then a voice tells him, no. One of the Hulks steps out from the group, telling him, we're done following you all over the place. You promised us a paradise, and all you brought us was closer to death. Enough with the hiding. Maestro tells him, we're not hiding, we're keeping a low profile. There's more to battle than just blindly charging in and smashing the enemy. So what now? Do you think you can do better? The Hulk grins, telling him, yeah, I can. And I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. With one heavy punch, that Hulk knocks Maestro to the ground, but as Maestro hits the ground, he begins to laugh. And he gets back up, punching that Hulk to the ground. He gets up on top of him, beating on his head, telling him, I'm gonna be laughing long after you've taken your last breath. Maestro starts to get up, leaving a bloody mess where the Hulk's head used to be, and he asks, is there anyone else who'd like to challenge my leadership? Over in Dawson City, Clint Barton asks where they're off to now, and Logan tells him, there's no we. Us and road trips? Well, it doesn't usually end well. Clint tells him, I get that you're like a lone wolf and all, but Puck said you called asking for help, and asking Puck for help, despite being a loner, means that things are real bad, man. Since it wasn't around the first time you got to this timeline, I'm gonna make up for it now. Logan grunts and gets in the car, telling Clint, fine, but we're gonna keep that chit-chat to a minimum. The two head out, and Clint says, look, I know I'm supposed to keep quiet, but what's the future interdimensional version of me like? Is he like a real badass? Logan tells him, no. He married Spider-Man's daughter and they had a kid. She then leaves you for an Ultron. Later, you get cataracts and go blind, and then you run drugs. Clint tells him, wait a minute, who'd you say I marry? Meanwhile, up in the mountains, Maestro pulls over and everyone makes their last checks on the nukes. Once everyone's strapped in, Maestro tells them, head straight to your targets, let nothing stop you. But before we can embark in the final step of our plan, you've all managed to rise above the butter that lesser, different banner damned you to. And for that, I am proud of you, my inbred interdimensional family. Back at the compound, Logan and Clint make their way in when Logan notices all of the nukes have been dismantled. Logan says, these Hulks, they lift a bunch of nukes from Department H. And then Clint looks around telling him, well, we found the missiles, so crisis averted? What do you mean by Hulks? As in more than one? Maybe you should tell me about everything that's going on now. Logan says that the nuclear cores are gone. Other than that, he really doesn't know. And then a voice tells him that she does. Cambria steps out, and the first thing that Logan does is shout, where's Maestro? Clint pulls back his bow and Cambria says, please, she just wants to help. He once helped her long ago. Logan thinks back to the Wastelands and how he used to have his pig stolen by this girl. And after talking with her, she stopped. Logan tells Clint to drop the weapons and Cambria goes on stating that she used to be with Maestro, but not anymore. Logan asks, where is he and how do we stop him? Cambria says that she'll help, but he's got the children with him. They came here because Maestro promised them something better than they ever had. Some decided to continue following him even after seeing how brutal he really is. And the kids, they just don't know any better. So if I help you, you have to promise that nothing bad will happen to them. However, we must hurry. We're almost out of time. Maestro is sending out the nukes right now. A short while later, all across the globe, the world sees firsthand what a group of Hulks can do to them. Back in the mountains, Maestro drives the children, telling them to remember everything will be fine. You can survive just about anything. The bombs won't hurt. And just as he says it, an arrow hits the windshield, and Clint shouts to step out of the vehicle with your hands over your head. Logan looks at him, asking him, really? And Clint says, well, jumps from the window in his Hulk form, quickly knocking both Logan and Clint to the ground. He stomps on Logan, telling him, I've run into others like you before. You're just a shadow of the Logan that I once knew. Logan gets up, cutting away at Maestro's feet, asking him, you really are Banner, aren't you? Just older, uglier, and balder. After Cambria told me, I wasn't sure what to believe. Every Bruce Banner that I know is... And Maestro stops him. What? Dead? Interestingly enough, I've heard the same about you. But while those two fight, Cambria tells the kids that they need to come. Maestro's been lying to them the whole time. Those bombs are not gonna only kill the humans, but even the Hulks that they're strapped to. The kids shout that she's lying. Maestro loves them, and he would never do that. Clint says that if you didn't notice, talking to them isn't working. I'm gonna trank them now. One of the children hit with the arrow rips it back out, yelling, you tried to kill us! And then he punches Clint in the face. Cambria knocks the child off of Clint, telling them that they're trying to help, but the other children tackle Cambria, telling her, you're just a coward and a traitor! Back with the Hulks across the world, they all begin to pull out their switches and detonate the nukes. But all that happens is foam begins to pour out of the tops. Up in the Alpha Flight station, Puck laughs, stating that the nukes have been neutralized, and Department H did some pretty hefty failsafes just in case. Logan stabs into Maestro, telling him, did you hear that? Your big plan to wipe out the world failed. Maestro smacks him, telling him, you can't lie to me like that, I programmed the bombs myself. Logan wipes the blood from his face, telling him, well, I got short friends in high places that tell me that your programming ain't worth a damn. Clint shouts, I've wrapped up the last kid, and Logan yells to him, get away, I'm gonna deal with Banner. Maestro charges at Logan, telling him, that Banner from the Wastelands was garbage, he had no imagination, no drive, he wasn't half the Hulk that I am. But rather than defending, Logan runs into the hit, and Maestro stops and falls back, holding his insides in. Logan then starts to walk towards the Maestro with his stomach cut open, and then a voice shouts for him to leave him alone. Everyone looks back at the truck to see little Malachi holding an exposed nuclear core. He yells that if they hurt Maestro, says, I can see that you're not like him, you're not a killer. If you do that, there's no going back. Cambria tells him, look, listen to Logan. Maestro lied to all of you, he sent the others to die. While everyone talks, Clint tells Logan and Cambria to cover their eyes, and he fires a concussive arrow behind Malachi. Clint gets up, stating that they only have 30 seconds before Logan can reach for the core, Maestro grabs him, throwing him into a boulder, and then he picks up the core, stating, I should have left you and the rest of your worthless kin back in the Wastelands. He begins to rip into the canister, but before he can, Maestro feels a dozen arrows shooting into him. Clint yells to Logan that he really could use an assist here, and then he looks over to see Logan is still getting up, and he says, crap! Maestro takes the wrecked truck and slams it down on Clint, and Logan screams for Clint as he runs straight in, cutting into the Maestro's stomach again. But then as he charges in and he gets close, Maestro leans back, kicking outward, launching Logan across the forest. Back with Cambria, she gets ready to leave with Malachi when Maestro takes both of his fists and slams him into Cambria's back, shouting that this is all her fault. She tries to fight back, but Maestro picks him up while they're stating, you are all wasted potential. But before the rocket come down, one of the children jump into it, and all of them begin to shout and punch that he lied to them. Before Maestro can kill any of the kids, Logan runs back in, telling Cambria to take everyone and get out of here. Logan and Maestro go back and forth, punching each other over and over until both of them can hardly stand. And Maestro says, this is it. This is the Logan that I remember. And the broken Logan says, I'm just getting started. But rather than attack, Maestro turns and says, I'll be back. And we're gonna fight again, just not today. After Maestro escapes, Clint tells Logan that he isn't gonna be winning any beauty pageants anytime soon. And Logan says that he thought that and Clint says, yeah, I thought that too, if it wasn't for Malachi over there. Cambria tells Logan that she should be thanking him for helping, but it is time for them to leave as well. Clint says, why not just come back with them? He has a whole apartment building that they can live in. And Cambria tells him no, they've helped enough. And Logan helped them back in the Wastelands, but now it's time for them to start relying on themselves. As she takes the children, Logan says to just let her go. She knows what she's doing. Once he's healed up enough, the two start to walk back, and Clint says, so, was that really Banner? It's just hard to not feel responsible after what we did to our Banner. It's like he's paying for it. Like this is one of his nightmares come to life. Logan tells him, he's not the only one. I killed the Banner back from where I'm from too. Only thing I can say is that sometimes you gotta learn to forgive yourself. We've all made mistakes. It ain't about the mistakes that we made in the past. Good people sometimes do bad things. It's what makes us human. As he walked down the busy streets of Tokyo, he thinks to himself how he never thought he'd miss a place like this. Open roads, the solitude of the woods, those are the places where Logan can relax. But there's something that he's been missing here. Probably just noise. Logan stops by a bar to get a drink, and as he opens the door, there's a man standing in the front window outside. A group of thugs follow the man out, yelling that this is Crazy Thunder territory. If he's gonna be drinking here, he's gonna be paying for their drinks as well. The man tries to get away from the thug wielding a bat, but Logan tells the thug, "Hey, I've had a rough week. How about we let this guy go and I'll grab a round for everyone?" The thug takes the bat, cracking it across Logan's head, telling him, "Step up!" And soon the other thugs jump in to beat down Logan. Back in the day, Logan would heal from these sorts of attacks in minutes, but now he's going to be aching for days. As the claws come out, he swipes, taking off one of his arm from the elbow. The man screams and starts to laugh, his eyes telling him, "I'm Canadian." After cutting the man's arm, the last thug standing begins to back away, and Logan tells him that just because he can't cut off their limbs doesn't mean that he can't knock them the hell out. The thug says it's all cool. We're just having some fun. We won't bother you again. Logan grabs the thug by the collar, telling him that he knows the three of them ain't mutants or humans. The odds of them having the same power is too great. What the hell is going on? Meanwhile, over at the Ishida Corporation, Dr. Tuco gets ready to head home for the night. And once the lab is clear, he takes 3 vials, hiding them in his coat. Late from the company, Tuco shouts back, telling him, "I would never do such a thing." There must be a misunderstanding, and Shingen holds out his phone, showing a video of Tuco stealing, telling him that it's all right here. How is this a misunderstanding? Tuco falls to his knees, telling him that he was forced to. He can't do anything or he'll be killed. Shingen then shows an image of Tuco's wife and child, telling him that if he doesn't tell them, he'll send his men to his crappy apartment, and they'll be the new test subjects. Soon, the silver samurai suit begins to appear around Shingen, and he grabs Tuco by the throat, telling him, "Tick-tock." Tuco dangles over the ledge of the parking garage, and he shouts that it was Kenji from the Crazy Thunder Clan. "Please don't kill me!" Before he could finish, Shingen lets go and watches Tuco's body go slamming into the sideway below. Later, over in a warehouse, Kenji tells his men to hurry up and get everything ready for their next shipment. Tuco was supposed to be here 3 hours ago with the Regenix. The boat to Madripoor is about to leave, and there needs to be at least 10,000 vials shipped. Suddenly, Kenji hears something, and Logan walks in, throwing the guard stationed outside onto the floor. Kenji tells things. "It doesn't seem like you'd have the brains to come up with all of this on your own. So tell me where the drugs are coming from." Kenji calls out to the Crazy Thunders, and within seconds, they swarm around Logan. He pops out his claws, and he begins to hack away at the men, but as the fight goes on, he notices some of the men aren't regenerating their limbs. The only difference from before is the air is cooler, which would make one believe that cold air slows down the regeneration process. Once the last of the thugs are taken out, Logan grabs Kenji, holding his fist to his chin, telling him, "You have 10 seconds. Where did it come from?" As Logan counts to 1, Kenji spits into Logan's face, and 2 of the outer claws shoot to the sides of his head. He tells him, "That's 2. You don't want to see 3. Kenji shouts, "Fine!" Regenix comes from some stiff named Tuco. He works in some unknown lab. All we know is where he lives. And back in the Ishida Corporation building, Shingen sits in his office when he notices a red ninja run along the outside of his window. He puts his phone down, sighing, and then he suits up into the Silver Samurai, telling him that he was supposed to have dinner with a Swedish supermodel in 20 minutes. The hand ninjas break through the window, and Shingen gets to work carving his way through the horde. While he fights, he notices a man watching, and he tells Gorgon that if he's hoping to stone him with his gaze, he's got some bad news for him. Gorgon keeps his arms folded and states that the hand has tried multiple times to unify with Clan Ishida. Each instance he refused. This is what he may call a hostile takeover. Shingen cuts down more of the ninja, stating that he's got a thing for this. Initiate sequence HA4372. Suddenly lasers begin to shoot out, shredding the ninja where they stand. And Shingen laughs, stating that that's just one of over 5,000 defensive protocols. Shingen readies himself before Gorgon, and he asks, "So this is where we fight, right?" And Gorgon tells him that he will do no such thing. He's already lost. Before Shingen can respond, he's struck from behind, and a female samurai pushes a sword through Shingen's back. She tells him, "Let go of your life." Close to Tuco's wife Asami, and among them is Logan. The two walk off, and Asami asks if he was a friend of her husband's. But Logan says no. He came to Tokyo to see him, but he knows this isn't a good time. He was hoping to ask her some questions regarding the matter. He has resources that may be able to find out who did this. Asami pauses for a moment and then tells him that they can talk, but not here. Meet her in the Paris bar later that evening. As Asami walks off, Logan walks by a grave marker and sees Mariko's name. He takes a long, hard look at that name, and then he moves on. Later that night, Logan heads to the bar that she told him about, and she thanks him for meeting with her. Logan cuts right to it, telling her that there's no easy way to say this, but her husband had a name for himself by selling selling Regenix on the black market. Asami says that she begged him not to do it, but he wouldn't listen. And Logan goes on telling her that he was stealing it from Shingen Harada. There's only one way that could have ended. What I need to know is about the drug. Who is he selling it to? She begins to cry, stating how Tuco was working at Regenix for years. It was supposed to be something good, but he got mixed up with the crazy Thunder Clan. And then when they found out what he was working on, they forced him to steal it from Harada. Logan asks how much of this stuff did he give them. If it spreads out too far, people get. But before he can finish, Logan notices people in the bar trying to run out, and a voice tells him, "Go ahead, finish that thought." Claws come out as Logan jumps up from the booth, and before him is Gorgon, the Scarlet Samurai, and a group of hand ninja. Logan then tells Asami to get up, but before she even has a chance, the ninja hand grab her, and Logan shouts to leave her out of this. As he steps forward, the Scarlet Samurai pulls out her sword, swinging, forcing Logan to step back. And Gorgon says that he can see it now. He's trying to figure out all the ways to save the widow, and allow him to say that she is already lost. Asami screams as one of the ninjas stab a sai into her chest, but Logan lunges at Gorgon at the sound of it. Scarlet Samurai quickly then cuts into the side of Logan's body, knocking him down. But there's something that Logan smells, death and decay, years of it. Gorgon asks, "You smell it, right? What is it? I've been waiting years for this moment. Now tell me, what is it that you smell?" Logan charges it again, thinking of cherry blossoms, and Gorgon tells him, "Yes. What else?" Next is rose water, and Gorgon tells him to keep digging. The more things that Logan thinks of, the more he tries to push them out, only focusing on the fight with the hand and the Scarlet Samurai. The more that Logan cuts away at the men, he realizes that it's the same as those thugs before. They're regenerating. Claws aren't gonna help him out here. He punches into one of the men, and the Scarlet Samurai slashes upwards, cutting off one of Logan's hands. He grabs the nub where his hand used to be, thinking about how could she cut through adamantium like it was nothing. Who is this person? He turns and tries to escape, but before he can go anywhere, the Scarlet Samurai slashes down along his back, causing him to fall. Gorgon tells him that he thought that he would have recognized it by now. Elsewhere, in the trash, Shingen groans as he wakes up and suddenly falls off of the heap on the ground. He gets up shouting, "Garbage! Those honorless bastards threw me out with the garbage! Me!" Back in the bar, the Scarlet Samurai holds her sword up above Logan's head, and Gorgon tells her to take the helmet off first. In Logan's mind, he already knows who this is. He's going to kill Gorgon for what he's done. Logan says, "Please don't," and Gorgon asks, "What's the matter? Aren't you pleased to be reunited with your long-lost love?" Logan holds his arm up to shield himself, saying, "Mariko, don't." Mariko's sword charges up and she says Logan's name, slamming the sword down right beside Logan. Using the chance, he kicks her legs out from underneath her and he makes a break for the exit. Still missing his hand, he pushes his way through, using his left arm to cut anyone in his way. A woman stands in the path before him, but before the ninja could kill her, Logan grabs her and runs outside with her. After letting her go, he yells for her to just go. "They won't be coming after you, run!" Back inside, Mariko gets ready to make chase, and Gorgon stops her, telling her that clearly she's not capable of taking Logan down. She puts the helmet back on, telling him that she was merely caught off guard. A mistake that won't happen, but Gorgon stops her, telling her, "No, you hesitated. I saw it. We brought you back, gave you life and purpose, and this is how you repay me?" Just then, one of the ninja walked back into the bar, telling Gorgon that he's sorry, but they've lost Logan. In frustration, he breaks one of the tables and then turns back, telling the ninjas to go back out there and tear this town apart. Finding that mongrel, keep him alive. Later in the poor area of town, Logan sits in a corner, allowing time for his hand to regrow. As he sits there, a voice tells him that he looks like crap, and without saying a word, he takes his one good hand, popping the claws. Shingen sits down next to him, telling him, "Does it look like I'm in my silver samurai armor? I'm not here to fight. It looks like Gorgon had his way. Gorgon came after you." Logan asks, "How did you find me?" And Shingen says, "Tokyo is my city. I have eyes and ears everywhere. It would seem that the hand have gotten a hold of Regenix." Shingen sighs and says, "It was supposed to be something to make me richer than Tony Stark. Before, the hand only had one weakness, and that was their ability to throw soldiers at their problems. With Regenix, instead of using 1,000 soldiers, they can use 10. It was supposed to be secret until Tuco." Logan stops him, asking, "The one you killed?" And Shingen tells him, he was lying about it. It's him that we need to blame for everything that's happening right now. The hand brought back Mariko, and when they assume that I'm gone, she would have the birthright to claim the corporation. Logan then says, "It's not just the hand who has it. There's already a shipment sent out to Madripoor for sale." Shingen grabs his head, yelling, "Crap! Regenix isn't ready!" It breaks down on its host, eating away at their muscle tissue and eventually killing them. Could be days or weeks. Logan gets up, telling him, "I know a way. You're gonna help me take down the hand, but you gotta promise me a few things. Stop making Regenix and financially take care of Tuco's kid, who's now an orphan thanks to all of this. And you do not kill Mariko." Later at the Yashida Corporation lab, Gorgon and Mariko talk when they hear a tink, tink, tink They look over and see a canister of liquid nitrogen thrown into the room, and as Gorgon walks over to it, a shuriken is thrown into, releasing the nitrogen into the room, rapidly bringing down the temperature. Before anyone has a chance to respond, Logan rushes in, cutting down one of the ninja, and Shingen says that Gorgon put a scratch on his desk. Logan tells him, "Shut up!" And Shingen asks why. It's Bokat wood with vibranium inlay. And Logan says, "This is why I work alone." Shingen jumps through a group of men, cutting them down, and yells at Gorgon, "You came into my home. You killed me and you threw me into the trash? When I'm done with you, I will resurrect you and kill you again!" Logan tears through another group and he runs towards Mariko, telling her that he knows that she's in there, and he knows it's hard to gain control, but she can do it. She swings her sword, pushing Logan away, stating nothing. She failed once before, but there won't be a second time. Logan yells, "Just think about the first time that we met. How I gave you a white flower. You have to fight this." On the other side of the room, Shingen chases down Gorgon, and Gorgon asks, "How are you alive? We killed you." Shingen tells him that he has over 5,000 defense protocols. Literally being stabbed in the back was one of the first things that he planned for. There's no way that you can win. Gorgon turns and kicks out the window, and before he can jump out, he tells him, "I can and I will. Next time." Back with Logan, Mariko cuts into his stomach, telling him he is nothing but a pathetic old man clinging to something that never was. Logan lays on the ground, telling her, "You have no idea how true that is. I'm not here to kill you again. I've lived with that guilt for far too long." Mariko raises the sword, telling him, "Rest assured, he won't be carrying it much longer." But before she can strike, a sword is thrust into her back, and Shingen stands over her body, stating, "You're welcome." Logan gets to his feet, checking on her, asking, "What have you done?" And Shingen tells him, "Oh, please. Did I not just save you from a murderous ex-girlfriend? Relax, she's still alive. There's no way in hell I would let any relative of mine die while under the Hand's control. I gave her the same thing that saved my life. The wounds healed her before it was fatal. All thanks to a bunch of little nanites of my own design, though way too expensive to put on the market. A real shame. But now that I've released Mariko from their control, I figured that there's a favor in order." Logan picks up her body, asking, "What is it?" And Shingen tells him that he will take Mariko to Madripoor. Destroy what's left of the Regenix before the Hand gets a hold of it, or worse, a competitor. This can go one of two ways. 1, the Hand gets a hold of Regenix and people die. 2, people use it and die, destroying the company in the process. Or 3, we find the shipment, destroy it, and everyone lives happily ever after, and you and Mariko can ride off into the sunset. Either way, after that, I hope to never see any of you again. It all started 6 months ago in the small Canadian town of Fort Wells. One night, as two locals get together for drinks, an argument breaks out. The younger man says that he needs to go back home to the wife before it gets too late. The older tells him he's whipped. Can't even stay out if he wanted to. But while the two drunkenly bicker, a man sitting in the back asks if they're done being morons. He'd like to finish his drink. The older man looks back, asking if he has something to state, and the shadowy man tells him, "I do. When I first came into this town, I was taken back by all the wasted potential. You have a plethora of unexploited natural resources, and yet your town is falling apart at the seams. So I'm left to ask myself, what type of fools would be blind to the opportunities here? And judging by the two of you, I now know why." The younger man says that if he wants to keep running that mouth, he's going to be swallowing his teeth here shortly. And the shadowy man smiles, stating, "Oh, I'm hoping for a fight." 3 months go by and a group of townspeople find themselves in the harsh winter forest just outside of the town. A little girl asks her father why they can't just turn on a flashlight. The father kneels down, telling her, "We just can't. We have to be very quiet. We have to make sure the king doesn't hear us." As the group goes on, a young boy named Joshua asks why are they running. They have guns. Joel, the old man from before, tells his son that he hasn't seen what the king can do. You know, back when Tony was still alive. The man is a monster, and guns won't hurt him. We tried, and he's got some sort of healing power. You shoot him, he just heals right back up. And the woman asks, wasn't he supposed to be one of the good guys? He looks much older. The group pushes on, and as they pass by a tree, Joshua trips over a branch sticking out of the ground. Joel quietly yells, "What the hell are you doing? If you make too much noise, the king will." But before Joel could finish, there's a thwack, and Joel's body is thrown against a tree with such force that he dies. Joshua runs over, calling out to his father, and behind them, the king's voice asks, "Did you really think that you could run? You try and run again, it won't just be one person." Now, in the current time, 2 men stand watch over the town entrance as another man walks up. One of the guards asks, "What the hell are you doing here?" And Logan says, "I came around to see the boss man. He around?" One of the guards says that the boss isn't taking any visitors right now. If he doesn't leave right this second, they'll open fire. Logan sighs. You don't want to do that. As the second guard shoots, Logan lunges at him. He manages to throw the second man out, but the first guard knocks Logan on the back of his head with his gun, knocking him out. A short while later, Logan opens up his eyes as he tries to get up, but he feels that his neck and his arms are bound. Joshua looks at Logan and tells him, "You shouldn't have come here." Logan tells him, "From the looks of things, I have to agree with you there, but why am I here?" Joshua begins to unlatch the lock from Logan's neck and says, "You're here because we need to call for help. The police, the Avengers, whoever. Bad things are happening here. When the king showed up, he just took over, made the town work for him. He makes the women. People tried to fight back, including my dad, but the king is too strong. Just promise to come back with help." As Joshua begins to cut the rope around Logan's wrists, the guards come out shouting, "What the hell are you doing here?" Joshua tells them that this man can get them help, but the guards push Joshua back and they shove Logan out, stating, "The king will see you now." Logan steps out and he looks at the town, and he sees nothing but ruin. Makeshift shacks scattered throughout the street, people piling dead bodies in a truck. He watches and quietly says, "My God." He begins his march towards the king. And after going into the church, the king, or as some would know him, as the alternate universe Hulk, named Maestro, sits up on his throne stating, "What do we have here? I was beginning to wonder whatever happened to you after our last meeting. Did you come here to beg for forgiveness? Bend a knee to the king, Logan. Why would my guards bring in the Wolverine?" The two guards step back asking, "That's him?" Logan tells him, "I just had to sell it to your guards so that I could get close. The time for you hurting people is over. So how about you get off your damn throne and we settle our differences? We didn't finish our fight, Maestro." Maestro asks, "Is that really what you want?" "There's no one here to help you this time, Logan." That's when there's a snick as the claws come out and Logan tells him, "Yeah, I'm sure." The Maestro charges at Logan, knocking him into the street, and it's at this very moment that Logan realizes this was a mistake. The Maestro is weak, but he hits just as hard as the regular Hulk. Logan right now has a slowed down healing factor due to his age and due to the fact that he's just not healing properly. He even has bone claws in one of his hands. He's gonna have to hope for a miracle if he's gonna drop a Hulk in his current state. The Maestro jumps down and Logan jumps on his back, stabbing in. But the Maestro grabs him by the face, shouting, "You literal backstabber!" As Logan's body is slammed into the concrete, Maestro takes his time punching Logan over and over again. Maestro scoffs, "Well, that was disappointing. I didn't think the fight would be over that quickly." He looks back at the townspeople, telling them, "Don't just stand there. Grab a shovel and clean up this mess." A short while later, Logan groans as he wakes up in the middle of the woods, naked. As he gets up, he smells something. He runs over and he begins to dig through the snow, and soon he finds the source of that smell, a pile of dead bodies. He starts to make his way back, asking what the hell is Maestro doing here. However, as Logan gets closer to the town, he remembers his healing factor isn't what it used to be. He shouldn't have pushed himself that quickly. He collapses into the street and he's spotted by Joshua and another young boy. The young boy says that they should kill him, but Joshua tells him no. They need him to help. The young boy tells him no way. He's gonna get back up. The boy walks off. Logan tells Joshua that he shouldn't be putting his neck on the line like this. And Joshua tells him that he can't leave him out here. He brings Logan back to an abandoned house, and Logan tells him, "I had a bag with me when I came in. Where's that bag?" Joshua runs out telling Logan to wait here. He'll be back shortly with it. As moments pass, Joshua returns, tossing the bag at Logan, asking, "Is he okay?" He's looking a little dead. Logan tells him, "Nah, just feels like it." He reaches into the bag and he pulls out a small syringe of the Regenex, telling himself that he's gonna need to boost his healing factor if he's got any hope of taking down the Maestro. He gets dressed, asking, "How long have I been out? A day?" And Joshua tells him, "No, you've been out for 5 days." Silence fills the room as Logan looks at his hands. And Joshua asks, "Is that normal?" Not the coming back from dead part, but how long it's taken you. Logan tells him, "No. Usually it doesn't take more than a few hours to heal, but lately. Look, a Hulk not much different than this one killed my family, and I'm gonna be damned if I'm gonna let the same thing happen here." But Maestro said that he's looking for something. He's not sure what it looks like, but it's a big machine, like something out of a sci-fi movie. You got anything like that around? Joshua tries to think, but before he could give any real answer, the two hear shouting from outside. Logan looks out to see people gathering around asking, "What's going on?" And Joshua says that the two men that brought him in, the king thinks that those two knew who he was, so he's tried them for regicide. Down below, the man's wife shouts, "You can't do this! He's a good man, he's got children!" And the man tells his wife, "Angie, I love you. Look after the kids for me." Maestro pushes the man forward, telling him, "Enough quivering. If she wants to be with you that badly, she could be hung right next to you." Maestro takes his place at the nearby truck watching, and as the executioner tightens the noose, he tells the man, "I'm sorry, I don't want to do this." The man says that he knows, but either way, the king is going to kill them off eventually. Maestro shouts, asking, "What's the delay? People came here for a show!" Back inside of the abandoned building, Logan hands Joshua his bag, telling him, "Keep the Summers safe, I'm gonna need this. I'm gonna stop this." Joshua looks at the bag, telling him, "Thanks." But suddenly, there's a bang. Outside, the executioner pulls the lever, dropping the floorboards out from beneath the two guards. But inside, the young guard from before yells, "I told you before not to do this!" The young boy and the other guards open fire, and a barrage of bullets knocks Logan out of the window. Maestro laughs, stating, "Aha! Look who decided to drop in." As Logan lays there, he slowly reaches for the Regenex. Maestro walks over, stating, "I should have known better. The Wolverine doesn't die so easily." Logan starts to stand back up, telling him, "This is pathetic even for you. These people can't fight back. You're just a bully looking for easy pickings." He grabs a syringe, pushing it into his arm, but before he can inject himself, Maestro smacks him across the street. He steps down on Logan's back, telling him, "I quite like it here, though it's a little colder than I would want, but you get used to it." As Maestro continues stomping on Logan's body, a little girl sees the syringe, picking it up. Logan sees this and tries to call out to her, but the Maestro stomps one last time, picking him up, telling him, "We're just gonna have to find a more inventive way to deal with you, Logan." After locking Logan up, Maestro heads back to his quarters, but he can't sleep. Something is off. He gets up looking out the window and sees a group of people gathering, and then the young guard from before calls out to him. He says, "Angie, the wife of the man that he hung tonight. She's trying to get the people all riled up. There's going to be a revolt." Earlier, they found another trying to help Logan, Joshua. They were the ones who shot him. But before they barged in, Logan said something about some sort of machine, something out of a sci-fi movie. Maestro smiles. Did he now? Interesting. Later, at the old meat market freezer, two guards watch over Logan, telling him that he made a big mistake coming here. Why the hell would he come back after getting the whooping that he did? But just then, Angie opens up the door, stating that she needs a moment with the prisoner. The guard begins to state that she can't, but Angie cuts him off, stating that this man is the reason that her husband is dead. She has every right to look him in the face and say her piece. The guard looks back at Logan and says, "You got 5 minutes, Angie. We'll leave the chainsaw there just in case." As the freezer door closes, Angie asks, "Can you do it? Can you really save us?" And Logan tells her, "I can try, but if I'm gonna have a shot, there's something you gotta find me. There was a little girl who..." But just then, one of the guards opens up the door, yelling, "The king is coming! We have to hurry!" Angie looks back at Logan and tells him, "Fine, just tell me where I can find it." A short while later, Maestro walks out of the meat market holding Logan up in chains, telling everyone that it has come to my attention that some of you are not happy. Some of you still think that this shell of a man can somehow save you. It's insulting, really. This town was dying before I showed up. You were nothing. If only you had truly given yourselves over instead of plotting behind my back, then we could have had prosperity and power. Maestro steps on Logan's face, grinding it into the ground, yelling, "If you are willing to follow, then you're going to need to obey. If you resist, this town will be burned to the ground. The time to decide is now. You either bow down before me, or..." But before he could finish, several automatic rifles start shooting, and Angie leads a charge, yelling that they are done bowing down to him. The others focus their fire on Maestro, and Angie runs over to Logan, stating that she found it. Is it really going to work? She injects him, and he tells her, "There's only one way to find out, isn't there?" Once the Regenex enters Logan's veins, he shoots up, telling Angie, "You need to get the people out of here now." He pops his claws, cutting through the chains, and he stands up, telling Maestro, "It's time to put an end to this pathetic charade." He begins to hack away into Maestro, but Maestro knocks him back, stating, "I have an offer for you. Follow if you're interested." So Maestro jumps off into the woods, and Logan follows the scent until he reaches a cave. He slowly walks in, and Maestro asks, "This is what you wanted, isn't it? The time-traveling machine. There's nothing left in my world, so I came here. Such a disgusting, dead-end splinter of time. Anyway, my offer is this. Step into that time machine, go back home. Forget all about all of this, and we don't have to deal with each other." Logan asks, "Why don't we both just go back and leave these people alone?" Maestro leans forward, telling him, "Pass." And he spins back, smashing the machine. Logan shouts for him to stop, and Maestro continues breaking the machine, stating, "I gave you a chance to go back. Now you get nothing." Logan lashes at a Maestro, but Maestro claps down on Logan's head. He stumbles back, asking, "Is that the best you got?" So Maestro jumps into the air, and as he comes back down, Logan slices through his neck. There's a loud thud as Maestro's massive head falls and hits the ground. Logan lands, readying himself to attack again, but as Maestro's body spurts out the green blood, it slumps and it falls over. He lets out a sigh of relief and begins to walk off, stating that he can't let himself die here. Not like this. Not like. But after a few steps, Logan's body gives out, and he falls face first into the snow, dead. And there you have it, the Old Man Logan storyline. Now, for some of you who are going to be stating